frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
I think GB News is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now, and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, "We saw you on television." I say, "Oh yes, on what?" "On GB News."
Hello, are you the famous Sue? The whole crew hid me here now. We came to celebrate.
It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GB News family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here right in the epicentre of the protest.
Here we go again.
You just tuned in. Where have you been?
It is raucous here tonight.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Hey, welcome to GB News on your TV and on your digital radio. I'm Christo Fufas, in for Queen Nana Akua for the next few hours. Myself, my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. Joining me for the next 3 hours, we've got former Labour advisor Paul Richards, journalist, broadcaster. She's sort of my arch nemesis on papers, aren't you? It's Claire Muldoon.
Oh, my, we really?
Only on papers.
I just think in general.
Oh, in general. Well, there we go. I was trying to be kind of there, but, you know, let's see how far that's got me. OK, so we're going to be discussing over the course of the show the new polling, which suggests under Andy Burnham, Labour would beat Reform if a general election was held tomorrow. So will the King of the North, I hate that expression, save the Labour Party? And is he Britain's last chance before Farage? And how has Kemi Badenoch got Labour so rattled this week? We'll all be considering the future of Britain, and so will I in Christo's conclusion. The Home Office's plans to house more than 5,000 asylum seekers on former military bases faces a potential legal challenge after outrage from locals and MPs. That's amid criticism that Labour are dumping these migrants on seats where they have zero chance of winning.
It's already a national issue in my view, and if you haven't got a camp next to you, they'll be living next to you or they'll be on your doorstep. So I don't think anyone can be free of this. The only people who are free are the politicians.
And in more migrant news, Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has unveiled a new plan to bring thousands of asylum seekers to Britain under a Ukraine-type community sponsorship scheme.
Call me a Yeah, I'm a bad man. Then he then started recording me. Obviously, then I've just then pushed him a lot. He's then grabbed me, then started grabbing my turban, pulled my hair, started grabbing my hair, or started punching me.
Dramatic body cam footage is released of the moment Henry Novak's killer, Vikram Digwar, repeatedly lies to the police, telling them his dying victim was racist, drunk, and hadn't been stabbed. That's as British Sikhs meet with Henry's mother to say, "We will not let this murder divide our community. I'll deliver my conclusion on the new questions this all raises later." And is it coming home? Will England pan Panama as the Three Lions take on the country in their World Cup group stage finale? Well, legendary England goalie Peter Shilton will join us with his expert analysis. But before we get started, let's get you up to date with the latest news headlines. Here's Sophia Wensler.
Christo, thank you and good afternoon. It's just gone 3 o'clock. Your top stories this hour. A Labour Party led by Andy Burnham would bypass reform if a general election was to take place today. That's according to the latest opinion polls. It comes as the former Greater Manchester Mayor is set to unveil his economic strategy to cut the North's dependence on the South by devolving powers and money from Westminster to England's regions. In his first big policy speech since Sir Keir Starmer's resignation, Mr Burnham will set out an economic strategy under which Whitehall budgets will be slashed and money diverted to regional mayors. Meanwhile, Lord Case has warned Andy Burnham to be honest and call for a general election or risk the same fate as the last 5 prime ministers. The former Cabinet Secretary said Mr Burnham was walking a very difficult tightrope because he had promised change but had no mandate to deliver it. Shabana Mahmood's new refugee sponsorship scheme will open the door to thousands of new migrants, according to the Conservatives. The Home Secretary is pressing forward with plans to cut the waiting time for foreign workers and their families to gain permanent residency. The new scheme would allow organisations like universities, community groups and businesses to sponsor refugees who apply to come to the UK, and it's based on Canada's asylum model. The Home Office said the system would operate at a much higher capacity than the current UK resettlement scheme that provides a route for only a small number of people each year. Rescue efforts are continuing in Venezuela after 2 deadly back-to-back earthquakes struck the country. Almost 1,000 people have been killed and more than 3,360 are injured, according to the latest figures. Buildings were flattened in the disaster on Wednesday, with more than 50,000 people still reported missing. The US military has conducted strikes on Iranian targets after President Trump accused Iran of a foolish violation of its truce following an attack on a cargo ship in the Gulf waterway. US Central Command said it had struck missile and drone storage facilities in response to the attack on Thursday. Tehran said the cargo ship was attacked because it was using an unauthorised route to transit through the Strait of Hormuz. Britain has been forced to urgently import more electricity from the EU to avoid power shortages during the record-breaking heatwave. The National Energy System Operator, which manages the grid, issued a rare emergency power supply warning after soaring temperatures triggered a slump in solar energy, with panels struggling to work in the hot conditions. It comes as yet another June heat record was broken yesterday, with temperatures reaching 37.3 degrees Celsius in Suffolk. But from today, temperatures are set to drop, with fresher conditions spreading slowly further east over the course of the weekend. And there's a risk of thunderstorms in parts of the UK. England will face off against Panama tonight in the last group stage game for the 2026 World Cup, in what Thomas Tuchel has warned will be a complex game. It comes as a survey has revealed that nearly half of football fans believe the experience of watching the game from home has now surpassed the pub. It's understood late kickoffs and financial pressures are reinforcing the shift away from going out. Prince George has joined his mother, the Princess of Wales, to mark Armed Forces Day by visiting a military airbase. The future king, who will be 13 next month, visited RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire, where he sat in the cockpits of 2 fighter planes as he prepares for his future as head of the armed forces. A video shared by Kensington Palace shows him inspecting the Battle of Britain memorial flight, which operates 11 aircraft and is based there. The Duke of Sussex is expected to take his children, Archie and Lilibet, to see Princess Diana's grave for the first time when they visit to the UK next month. It's reported the visit to Althorpe House in Northamptonshire will take place just days after what would have been Diana's 65th birthday. The Sussexes will also attend celebrations marking the 1-year countdown to the Invictus Games in Birmingham. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Christo.
Now, has the Burnham bounce already saved the Labour Party? Because a Labour Party led by Andy Burnham would bypass reform if a general election were to take place. That's according to the latest polling. Now, it comes as the former Greater Manchester Mayor is set to unveil his economic strategy to cut the North's dependence on the South by devolving power and money from Westminster to England's regions. Former Cabinet Secretary Lord Case is now warning Andy Burnham to be honest and call for a general election, or risk the same fate as the last 5 Prime Ministers. Well, joining me now to discuss this is GB News political correspondent Olivia Utley. So, Olivia, I guess Labour would be looking at this polling, and it's only one poll. It puts them 1% ahead of Reform, 27% for Labour, 26% for Reform, 19% for the Conservatives. I mean, will they be jumping for joy at this, or will it be because he's not actually done anything yet? Everyone looks shiny and new and wonderful to people doing a poll when they've not actually got into office yet.
Well, to be honest, I think they will be jumping for joy because it is such a massive, massive improvement on anything we've seen from the Labour Party for a very, very long time. Just a few weeks ago, Reform looked completely insurmountable in the local elections. And now, yes, it is just one poll, but Labour seems to be just edging ahead. As you say, Christo, I mean, we know that party leaders, and particularly prime ministers, are the most popular they will ever be the few weeks after coming into power. In this week's case, the few weeks before coming into power, because we already know exactly what's going to happen on July the 20th. But it's really, really tricky because Andy Burnham now needs to live up to those expectations. Will he manage to do that? Well, we will soon hear this big policy speech from Andy Burnham. The issue that lots and lots of people, both within the Labour Party and outside of it, have with the new Prime Minister-to-be is that they don't really know very much about what he thinks. He's been the Mayor of Manchester for 10 years. He spent very little time in Westminster. He hasn't announced what he thinks clearly about the huge issues facing the country, like immigration. Defence, he didn't even mention during the Makerfield by-election. And when he is scrutinised on policy, for example, in that disastrous Newsnight interview a few weeks ago, he tends to get a bit tetchy and sound a bit panicky. Now, could it be that in the weeks between now and the September Labour conference, Andy Burnham comes under a lot more scrutiny, struggles in the spotlight, and we see that bounce all but disappear? That is quite possible. The other option, of course, is that Andy Burnham comes into power and his sort of natural charm and charisma will come as such a stark contrast to what we've seen from Keir Starmer over the past 2 years, that there'll be a big sigh of relief in the Labour Party and those figures will carry on moving upwards. I think it helps Andy Burnham that Zach Polansky's stars to have burned pretty bright and pretty fast. The Greens were polling very high a couple of weeks ago and that seems to have dropped down. And in the local elections, they just didn't quite live up to the very, very high expectations set for them. So I think that Andy Burnham is managing to snatch away a few of those votes which had gone away from Labour over to the Greens. If he carries on that, if he carries on picking up on that, then we could see a big Burnham bounce. And then it is possible, he hasn't ruled it out, that he could call a general election. It would, of course, be politically savvy in that lots of his predecessors, particularly in the Conservative Party, came under a lot of flack for not calling an election when they came into power. There would also be a policy benefit to it, because at the moment he is pretty tied to that 2024 manifesto, which he was no part of, having not even stood as an MP in that general election. And if he were to hold his own election, he could write his own manifesto, make his own promises, and do something very different from Starmer and Reeves. Of course, the big drawback, the very obvious drawback, is that Labour has an enormous majority at the moment. And chances are, even if it went pretty well for Labour, for example, if the polling today played out over in an actual election, the Labour Party would still end up losing an awful lot of seats.
Really interesting analysis. Thank you, our political correspondent Olivia Utley. Let's now talk to the former Downing Street Director of Communications, Jonathan Haslam. Jonathan, thanks for taking the time to talk to us here on GB News. So surely it is the democratic thing to do, especially, and that is to hold an election, especially when you consider the number of Labour MPs, Andy Burnham included, who called for an election when the Conservatives changed Prime Ministers.
Yeah, change of administration means change of point of view. When you're in office, you look at things very differently. And from our perspective, we have a situation now where still we elect a party as the party of government. We don't elect a president. We don't expect things to change all the while. And certainly I would be against holding an election now, so long as Burnham does not go beyond the Labour Party manifesto. If he wants to radically withdraw and change that manifesto, then yes, we should have an election. As it is at the moment, I don't see any particular need for it. What the country needs is stability. It needs to have a strong leader who can command the cabinet and his party and start delivering on the promises they've made, and then we, the electorate, can judge them when the time is right. And we've also seen the practicalities here. Let's not forget what happened to Theresa May when she decided to hold a snap election. As Olivia has just said, you ended up with a party that got a lower number of MPs, albeit still a majority, and that didn't work successfully. And the other thing, Christo, I think as we've acknowledged, is that what we would say here, Christo, is bounces are interesting. People think that they go bounce up and they're happy with it, and when they come down, they're less happy.
But you must understand why people would see that as complete hypocrisy. So basically, when Labour are in power, they live by one set of rules. When Labour aren't in power, they live by another set. And how can Andy Burnham do all of this devolution to the north? How can he argue against these neoliberal policies? How can he set out a policy framework without going back on the manifesto, or set out things that weren't even in the manifesto? It doesn't make any sense.
No, I think you can certainly look at any manifesto that's well written, and certainly the Labour Party's was one which had plenty of loopholes in it, as we've seen from the way in which they have moved with employers' national insurance. That there is scope there for more devolution. There'll be more powers that could be given to people. The extent is the important thing. And he'll have to make judgments there. But the other judgment that people are going to make here is, what are the priorities for the country? And are some of the things that he's spoken about in the past, and let's face it, he's spoken about a great many things in the past, the immediate priorities today for this country? And the immediate priorities are, we certainly have to get an immigration system and an immigration rate which is commensurate with what is appropriate for our country. Most importantly of all, we need to have economic growth, and that does mean that somewhere he has to find a way of reducing the regulations on burdens on business and start allowing us to invest again. And
but
that's one of the
what you
things.
have just outlined makes the Labour Party manifesto sound, frankly, meaningless. Because if there's enough wriggle room for someone to more or less do what they want, well, then what's the point in a manifesto?
Well, let's go back to Lady Thatcher, Margaret Thatcher, as she was when the first election that she won many years ago now. Happy times for our country, I think, when she made clear that child benefit would continue to be paid as now. And everybody thought, well, that's absolutely fine. What they didn't realise was it didn't mean there was ever going to be an increase in it until she got the economy sorted out and the opportunity for us then to use the profits of growth.
Well, I think we could use a child benefit cap could be put right back at you as well when it comes to the Labour manifesto, because Labour suspended MPs that were in favour of lifting it before lifting it themselves.
I know, but that's not hypocrisy, that's stupidity. And that's the way in which Keir Starmer has sunk his own grave, I think, because one of the things that they did immediately was, well, first of all, they didn't have a plan. It's always a good idea to come into government with a bit of a plan. And secondly, they took the Treasury at its word. And don't forget, this is a Treasury that's given us a pasty tax in the past, and George Osborne has paid the price for that. Let's not forget then that if you go in and you're told there's a big hole, the thing you don't do is to go and take away a winter fuel allowance without providing for the neediest in society.
Or indeed, some would argue, make that hole much bigger. Listen, good to talk to you. Jonathan Haslam, Director of Communications, formerly at Downing Street. OK, to the panel now. Paul Richards, journalist and broadcaster as well. Claire Muldoon. I mean, just responding to that, I'll come to you first, Claire. I would say that one of the top priorities, which was Jonathan's point, that, you know, we need to prioritise what's important, surely a top priority is democracy, isn't it?
Well, you would think, wouldn't you? But, you know, it might be as soon as July the 20th when Burnham is elected as PM and brought in without any other Labour MP.
Yes, so actually not elected as PM, crowned.
Crowned as PM. And you have to think, if he is as far removed from that 2024 manifesto that gave Starmer his landslide victory, that he did absolutely nothing with for the past 2 years, one has to wonder what on earth Burnham will actually do, because he's been very, very, very quiet on his old comms. He's never actually said, well, this is how I'm going to treat this. This is my first priority, and it will be a litmus test for him when he chooses his cabinet, because that would show a sign, a good sign of leadership and a good sign of judgment, both of which virtues we haven't seen from Starmer, let alone anyone else. And if he is removed from that 2024 manifesto, then I'm afraid we will be heading, and we have to head, for another general election.
OK, Paul Richards, if you were advising Andy Burnham now, you've got the big dilemma, haven't you? You've got sort of the legitimacy of having your own majority with your own manifesto, or you've got someone else's inherited very good majority, but a manifesto that you are somewhat tied to, though it could be argued that Keir Starmer didn't tie himself that much to that manifesto. What would you do if you were advising him?
I mean, you have to blame the Norman Conquest for this, which
we've blamed Brexit for the black hole. We've blamed, the Conservatives. Now we're blaming the Norman Conquest.
The reason I say that is
did they come in boats?
The reason I say that is because, of course, that is why the Prime Minister has these monarchical powers to decide when the general election is. We don't have a fixed term, nor do we have a presidency elected by the people. So we have a Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister is chosen by the MPs, and the PM has all the power to decide when that election is within a 5-year period. So the calculus is what's in the best advantage, maybe of the country, but probably of the party in office at the time, of when to call it. Some people get it spectacularly wrong. James Callaghan got it wrong, Gordon Brown got it wrong, others have gamed it and got it right. John Major got it right. But the fact is, it's not down to the public and it's not down to anyone else. It just sits heavily on the hands.
That doesn't make it right. And when you've got Andy Burnham himself and other Labour MPs who will probably be on his front bench, some of which who are already on the front bench, saying when the Conservatives did this, you need a general election, it does look incredibly hypocritical if they now backtrack.
If you get the clamour for it and you start people thinking there's going to be one, and then you resile from that, like Gordon Brown did, it's catastrophic. But the calculus, the skill of this is absolutely on the shoulders of the PM, because that is our system.
Is he a hypocrite if he doesn't call a general election?
Oppositions always do it. Oppositions always say election now, and governments say, well, we're governing, we're getting on with it. So I don't know. I don't think you'll have one straight away. If you ask for what I would say to him, my advice would be give it a year so that the public can see what is different, if there is genuine change, if they can feel change in their pockets and on their streets. Then go to the country in about 12 months, a June election, and say, give us another chance. Give us another go to keep this progress going. If he does it too soon, I think people will say, well, we don't know anything about you.
Well, look, Makerfield, in my view, and I've spoken to constituents there, voted Burnham in to get Starmer out. Now, we were all saying at the time, Starmer should leave after the...
Well, I wasn't, but go on.
The May elections were catastrophic for the Labour Party, and we saw a strong increase in voting for reform. Do we think that perhaps Starmer held on until after this election to see how broad the voting would go, because Makerfield really was a test as well for the electorate, because Reform were continually polling above every other party.
But don't forget, he got more than 50% of the vote.
Yes, no, I know.
Did Burnham win Makerfield, or did Starmer
lose it?
Being Prime Minister? What was that about?
You don't know why people cast their votes, and you certainly can't say they all voted this way for one reason, because people are complex. Some of them definitely because they love Andy Burnham, some were just residual Labour voters, some were to get rid of Starmer, somewhere because they liked the policy on the buses.
But Makerfield was 65% Brexit.
Yeah, right.
And he's
and Burnham's very, very close to you and wants closer ties with Europe.
He says this is the other thing with Burnham.
Yeah.
And I've written a piece on this, and I suggest you go and read it on the GBNews website. Because it's true, because I have no idea. Everything he's ever stood for, he's flipped on.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well, he's changed his mind.
Policies, which he was quite happy to pursue under Tony Blair, economically, which Tony Blair continued, he now is saying was terrible for the country. He's wanted to be close to the EU, even just last year. Now he's saying he doesn't want to be close to the EU. He wants to follow Rachel Reeves's fiscal rules. Doesn't know what those fiscal rules are. He doesn't want to be in hock to the bond markets, then he is going to be in hock to the bond markets.
He's the former Chief Secretary to the Treasury, so he does know what the fiscal rules are. Don't ask me what they are, but I'm sure he does. But a point about changing your mind as things change, I think is a reasonable point. Jeremy Corbyn didn't change his mind for 40 years and was criticised for that. So.
All right. Well, have, of course, your own conclusions, gbnews.com/your say. I'll read some of those coming up. You're with Christo here on GB News. Now, would you be happy for a military base near you to become a migrant camp? We will speak to the spokesperson for Linton on Owl's action group, because this could be happening right there. That's next here on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on a BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Hey, it's Christo in for Nana here on GB News, or on TV and on digital radio. You're very welcome on this sunny afternoon. Maybe you're listening to us on radio. Now, coming up, would you take in a migrant for money? We're going to discuss those latest plans from the Home Office, and I'll be giving you my thoughts on the apparent Burnham bounce and what's been a good week for Kemi in my conclusion. But first, the Home Office's plans to house more than 5,000 asylum seekers on former military bases faces potential legal challenges amid criticism from council leaders and MPs. Now, just look at this map. These proposals are now under fire because these bases are all in either Tory or Liberal Democrat constituencies, places Labour has next to no chance of winning in an election. Sounds like a strategic gerrymandering choice, doesn't it? Well, let's now speak to Dr. Olga Mateus, who is the spokesperson for the Linton on Ouse Action Group. Hi there, Dr. Olga. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us here on GB News. So, are they planning one of these in Linton on Ouse, and what are you doing about it?
Well, it would seem that they're planning one in Lyntown-News, and as you quite rightly say, it's a Conservative constituency and has been for a number of years. And the Conservative government under Boris Johnson proposed the site in 2022. Interestingly, Keir Starmer was vehemently against the proposal for a number of reasons. We won the campaign before so that the former base didn't go ahead as an asylum seeker base. And the reasons for that were very technical. They were about infrastructure. It's a small village. The base is in the heart of the village. There are police guarding, safety issues. The emergency services are already very tight in North Yorkshire. Roads are very problematic in North Yorkshire. They're all quite small. We only have, well, York is the city, Middlesbrough is the city. Other than that, we've just got market towns in the main. Social cohesion quite clearly is an issue when you consider that there are about 500 adults in the village. And obviously there are children as well and teenagers.
So it's a very, very small village.
It's a very, very small village, and they're thinking of putting 1,500 people in there. Now, let's be very clear that this 1,500 is suggested as a starter. So heaven only knows how many people might end up there.
But can I just ask, though, because critics of your position, Dr. Olga, would say that, you know, and you know, a lot of people will say this about various places that this is happening. They will say, well, it's just about the fact you don't want migrants near you. You don't want people that perhaps don't look like you. It's about. I'm surprised actually far right hasn't been thrown out. But those are the sorts of accusations that people who have these concerns, that's what's thrown at them. What would you say to those accusations?
Well, I would say that those concerns may or may not be valid for certain people, but fundamentally, last time, and I'm sure it will be exactly the same case this time, all different parts of the spectrum, as I've just said, Keir Starmer and other people who are now in his cabinet were vehemently against this. All the asylum seeker charities were absolutely against this. The villages, the police were against it, the fire services were against it, the healthcare, the education, all the services, they are already very, very tight in North Yorkshire. It's rural. Serco, let me just say, rather than focusing on, well, I am focusing on what you're saying, but Serco were given the contract to run the base were it to become an asylum seeker processing centre, and they could not get staff. So not only were people from across the spectrum politically and the charity sector, but also Serco couldn't recruit. That tells you something about how unsuitable the location is.
So, because I have to, I'll declare my thoughts on this. I am in favour of the concept of military bases being used, but my caveats are they've got to be suitable ones with suitable infrastructure. Your village, when I read about your one, I just thought, well, that doesn't seem suitable. But also, I think as well that the infrastructure needs to be on the base, and the migrants need to not leave the base until they are processed and we know who they are. So I wouldn't mind, and I'd love to know what you think of this, if the government said, you know, I wouldn't love it, but if the government said, look, we're going to have the people on these bases, we're going to spend money on putting a gym in there, putting a doctor in there, putting a dentist in there, so that it is self-contained, and we'll put them in areas where they are suitable. Would you be in favour of that sort of solution when it comes to migrant army bases being used for migrants?
Well, I personally, I'm an immigrant child, so
Me too.
My views on immigrants and their assimilation into this country may not map with that of other people. However, this particular site is unsuitable. The cost of making it to modern standards. So it wasn't suitable in 2022, and 4 years later we have significantly more degradation, because it was actually minor but still vaguely inhabited in 2022. It's been abandoned since then. We all know what happens to abandoned buildings. They deteriorate quite rapidly. The power has been taken away. The MOD has done a very efficient job, as you would expect, of dismantling and decommissioning the site. There is toxic waste. There are ammunition dumps on the land. There is asbestos in the actual
It sounds an
building.
absolutely barking mad place. I mean, of all the places they could have chosen, it doesn't sound like the kind of place that's suitable. Listen, really good to get your thoughts on that and why this is something that you and the community are fighting against. That's Dr. Olga Mateus, who is the spokesperson for the Linton-on-Ouse Action Group. Now, Border Security and Asylum Minister Alex Norris said, "We promised to close every asylum hotel and hand them back to communities. And that is exactly what we are doing. 20 more hotels have closed and hotel numbers have more than halved since their peak. Instead, we're moving asylum seekers into ex-military sites that are a far cry from the hotels the last government left us with. This is an asylum. This is a system being brought under control, and we will not stop until the job is done." You also heard Serco mentioned there. They've previously said that they've taken appropriate steps to confirm the suitability of addresses and added they work very closely with local authorities who are involved in the selection of individual properties. OK, it's Christo here on GB News. Now, other migrant news. Remember the Ukraine migrant scheme? Well, something very similar could be happening for migrants from other countries very soon. How do you feel about that? Well, that's something we will be discussing next. But first, your latest news headlines with Sophia Wensler.
Christo, thank you. Your headlines at 3:34. New polling suggests under Andy Burnham, Labour would beat reform if a general election was held tomorrow. It comes amid calls for Mr Burnham to call a general election because he has promised change but has no mandate to deliver it. Rescue efforts are continuing in Venezuela after two deadly back-to-back earthquakes struck the country, leaving almost 1,000 people dead. Another June heat record was broken yesterday with a provisional temperature of 37.3 degrees Celsius reached in Suffolk, as temperatures are now set to drop and give way to thunderstorms. Around a third of pregnancies now end in abortion, according to new figures from the Office for National Statistics. Some 32.1% of pregnancies were terminated in 2023, which is up from just 20.8% in 2010. England will face off against Panama tonight in the last group stage game for the team in the 2026 World Cup. It comes as a survey has revealed that nearly half of football fans believe the experience of watching the game from home has now surpassed the pub. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello there and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After the record-breaking heatwave last week, things are going to start to cool down as we head towards the second half of the weekend. It is still going to be pretty hot out there through the afternoon, but we do have these weather systems coming in from the west which will push that hot air out towards the east over the coming days. But across the southeast we do have these thunderstorms that are going to move their way across East Anglia through the afternoon, so we want to keep a very close eye on them. They should move through rather quickly, leaving clear skies across the southeast. But we do have this band of rain that is moving in overnight. So cooler behind this band, but ahead of it, it is still going to be a muggy night to come. Temperatures here still around 20 degrees overnight, so still could be uncomfortable for a few people. Now, as we go through Sunday, like I said, it is going to turn a lot fresher, a bit more in the way of cloud across Scotland in the morning. Some outbreaks of some showers here, but behind it will turn a little bit brighter across Northern Ireland. But you'll see these temperatures are a lot lower than what we've seen over the last few days with that heat wave. Ahead of that front, it is still going to be a little bit warmer for a few hours before it does start to cool off. But as we go through the day, that rain will start to peter out and we will be left with this band of cloud. As we go into the afternoon, that cloud should lift and it should start to break up for the second half of the weekend, and it will just turn into a normal typical summer's day for Sunday. Temperatures still above average but around the mid-20s, so a much cooler feel than what we've seen over the last few days with those record-breaking temperatures. And through the evening, that is going to continue. It may turn a little bit windier across the very northwest of Scotland with some heavy showers at times. But then as we go through the week, we do see a more settled picture for Monday and Tuesday, and temperatures are still going to be into those low 20s.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dawdney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
To all of you who voted for GB News to win at the Trick Awards for the 4th year in a row.
The winner is GB News.
Thank you so much for voting for us. It's because of you that we're so proud to be the People's Channel, and it's because of you that we are Britain's news channel.
It's voted for the people who watch us.
Well, we've got the best viewers in the world, haven't we? The most loyal viewers.
Thank you.
Welcome back, it's Christo here on GB News in for Nana. Now later, as the UK faces more military threats than ever from an uncertain world, just how important is Armed Forces Day? Well, our national reporter Charlie Peters will tell us. Now, before I get to the next story, I just want to read some of your say in response to what we were talking about there, about military bases being used to house migrants. And Gary has sent me a WhatsApp, not a WhatsApp, on your site. I haven't given out my number for WhatsApps yet. Maybe that's the next step. You're showing your wet libtard politics that you cover up on GBN. You want illegals to all have doctors and dentists rather than just deport them. We don't want them here, not on our armed forces properties. Why don't you put them up in one of your houses, says Gary. Well, Gary, right, the reason I said that was because I personally think that military bases, of course it would be ideal to deport them. Of course it would be. That's what you'd want to do. That would be the most ideal thing to do. But it's not going to happen immediately. And we've got people in hotels at the moment which are smack bang in the middle of communities. My point about putting doctors and dentists in those sorts of military bases is so that they could become self-contained, meaning that I would have the migrants on those bases until they are processed and they are not allowed to leave. And therefore, if you put doctors and dentists and stuff in there, yes, there will be a cost to doing that, and it will be a cost that is difficult to stomach, but at least it would mean that they are self-contained and not in people's communities, which would solve the problem of people being worried about that. But I accept your point of view. That's something that you are against. What about sending decommissioned cruise ships? Says Paul, because lots are sent to India to be scrapped, so why not give them a new purpose? Thank you very much indeed for that one. Another one as well here on this one. A lot of them already live in some squalid conditions, so army camps might be much better, like the Hilton to them. Thank you very much indeed for that one. OK, well, in other migrant news, there's a lot of it today. Organisations and community groups will be able to sponsor thousands of asylum seekers to come to Britain under a new scheme unveiled by Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary. Now, she's pressing ahead with plans first floated in November to create new, safe and legal routes for refugees. Well, let's talk about this with my panel, former Labour advisor Paul Richards, journalist and broadcaster Claire Muldoon. Paul, I'll start with you. What's frustrating about this is that Shabana Mahmood said when this was released yesterday, we're doing this because we want to make our asylum system fit for years to come. Doesn't she get that people don't want the asylum system fit for years to come? They don't really want an asylum system at all.
Well, we are part of international agreements on refugees, aren't we? And we would
an agreement that's really not fit for purpose.
And in
now.
The same situation, we would probably want to be welcomed by countries if we were fleeing war. But the point of this is to say, all those people. In fact, one of your correspondents said this. Oh, would you have a migrant in your home? Well, this is for people who do want a migrant in their home. They're saying that actually you can open up communities and people can have it like they did with the Ukrainian refugees and sign up to a scheme which would create safe, legal routes for those people who legally should be here, and that means you cut the illegal trade and you cut out the gangs profiting from this human misery and hopefully cut down on the...
That would stop that.
Well, because it means that people won't be paying thousands of pounds to wrong-uns to get on those dangerous boats. That's why.
Why would you go through the risk of being processed that way when you could just get on a boat?
Because the boats cost a fortune and are incredibly dangerous and people die. And if you're actually being welcomed by a family who will, like with the Ukrainians, welcoming you in, maybe help you with local college and work...
The difference with the Ukrainian scheme was that people... Well, first it was women and children, because a lot of the men were fighting. And secondly, because they came directly from Ukraine, it was known that they were from a war zone, whereas a lot of the migrants that would be in this scheme, we don't actually know that they've come from a war zone.
Well, it would have to be a robust system, wouldn't it? And families aren't going to want just welcoming anyone without credentials. It will obviously be genuine.
But a lot of people don't have credentials, isn't that the point?
Well, then they won't. If I was running that system, I'd make sure that they did and they were.
They're going to get on a boat. Because the thing you just said they wouldn't do.
No, because if it will help expedite that and people get here quicker in a way that if they're supposed to be here, they'll be welcomed by the community. What's wrong with that? Not everyone wants to burn down hotels.
I mean, the one thing you can say for this scheme is it would make people put their money where their mouth is. All those people that are complaining about the fact that we are not compassionate and that we're a far-right nation and that we're dreadful. Well, you know, you want migrants, you have one in your house.
Well, simply, we don't have the space for them, right? We can't take on any more. 75,000 since 2024 when the Labour Party got in. 1,000 alone in the last week. Now, I think she is kicking the can down the road, both with housing those seeking asylum in army barracks, because they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't, because we don't want them in hotels, in society. We also don't want people seeking asylum being sent to the poorest parts of the country, because that then just diminishes everything that's trying to help with social mobility.
And a lot of those places as well don't have the
basics and the infrastructure. They don't have the schools, they don't have the doctors, they don't have the transport links to help anybody that's actually living there at the moment. You only have to watch the old Oak Hotel, the Ken Loach film, to see the devastating impact of housing asylum seekers in very poor parts of the country. It is awful. When we spoke about, decommissioning, using decommissioned sailing ships, we tried that, the BB Stockholm. How many human rights were infringed in that? And then that was shelved. I think, in part, she has to do something to legislate going forward. And if this legislation is opening them up, and it's initially for Eritreans and Ethiopians that are the bulge of people seeking asylum. But we need to deal with what we've got at the moment. We need to deal with the fact of people, Christo, when their asylum is not granted, they appeal. We need to stop these appeals.
That's a massive problem. And
huge problem.
I don't understand why we don't do that, because that is actually domestic legislation. We could have domestic legislation that would get us out of the human rights.
Do you know who's using the domestic legislation at the moment? I read today in The Spectator, a small town in a Dutch small town, and they're just saying we're having no more.
All right, well, Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has said that Britain has always offered sanctuary to those fleeing war and persecution. This system only survives if the public trusts that it is fair, controlled and not open to abuse. So I will open new legal routes for genuine refugees whilst closing loopholes that have been too often abused. My goal is simple: to ensure we have an asylum system, not just today, but for generations to come. So there you go. OK, coming up, we'll hear from our national reporter Charlie Peters on Armed Forces Day. But now, the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The very hot weather in Western Europe pushes eastwards through this weekend. Sunny and warm for many other areas of Europe throughout this weekend. Highs of 28 degrees in Tenerife on Sunday. There's a risk of heavy rain and thunderstorms moving up across parts of Spain as well as France. Over the Alps as well, a risk of thundery downpours, and it will turn very hot across parts of Italy in particular through Sunday. But here's your outlook. It remains very sunny for many areas. Temperatures in the low to high 30s. Have a good day.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
But there's a huge amount of psychological evidence. There's lots of theories about when people make decisions and follow them with actions, their behaviour becomes consistent with the choice they made. So if you get married, you're more likely to see each other with rose-tinted spectacles, that kind of thing. The signal value of marriage is absolutely huge. I was talking to a young couple who are newly engaged just the other day, and they said it was amazing how it actually changed the way that they felt about their relationship. So it does provide extra security, and doing it in front of your friends makes a huge difference as well. It holds you to account. So there's a huge psychology behind the act of marriage. So it would be weird if there wasn't any effect at all. I found that your family background, so your age, your education, income, affects about half of your chance of staying together.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
The art world has lost its darling, probably the most respected, celebrated, influential artist of the 20th and 21st century. And as you say, you know, career spanning 7 decades, whether you're looking at his portraits or his Californian swimming pools or his spectacular Yorkshire landscapes, he made art for the people. You know, the art world can be a rather snobby place, which is unfortunate at times, but he made art for the people. If you think about the portraits, the people that he painted, whether it be Mr. and Mrs. Ossie Clark, the fashion designer, and Percy the cat, or Harry Styles, or a portrait of his carer.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, I'm going to try and explain what SpaceX is. It's set to become one of the most valuable companies in the world. But it's not just about rockets. Everyone will be aware. OK, well, it would be really nice if Elon Musk could could help us out with our tech here, because I'm trying to draw a rocket and we're not able to. What is going on? I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm afraid our very own. Let's see. No, we're not. I'll try and explain what's going on with SpaceX without any visual aids. How disappointing! It's 3 companies really. It's a rocket company, it's a communications company, and it's an AI company, all in one. It controls 84% of the commercial launch market in this country.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Thanks for your company. It's Christo here on GB News in for Nana. Now, coming up, will England win tonight, or will the game be as boring as the last one? We'll speak to an England goalkeeping legend later. But first, today marks Armed Forces Day, where Brits across the country are acknowledging sacrifices made by serving and former military personnel as part of Armed Forces Week. Well, GB News national reporter Charlie Peters sent us this report from Aldershot.
Welcome to Aldershot Garrison for Armed Forces. They've got 20,000 people here and all three branches of the Armed Forces represented as they put on a show to demonstrate the pride that they have in their service, and everyone here can say thank you to them. And also we have veterans, of course, taking part in a parade earlier today where the Chief of the Defence Staff, the most senior member of the Armed Forces, took their salute. Also joining them was the Secretary of State for Defence, Dan Jarvis. And here at the demonstration, as I can see now, there is plenty of kit and equipment as members of the military show off the gear they've got. Here we have a Challenger 2 tank. To the left, we've got a Boxer armoured fighting vehicle. Plenty of logistical pieces of equipment to my left here from the airborne engineers, including their recce troop, light WMIC vehicles as well. And just in the distance there, we can show you an Apache helicopter. So plenty of gear on display here for you, Christo. But the question is there enough money for defence? Defence, no doubt, is in a bit of a perilous state at the moment. Great concerns about the much delayed defence investment plan. And I think above us is a Dakota, part of the Battle of Britain memorial flight. There it is, going above us now. That is our heritage, but what is our future? Those are the questions that we're asking today, and that's a question we put to Dan Jarvis earlier today. Has he got the money to do the job?
We're spending more on defence than we have for more than a generation, but yes, I accept the basic point that we need to spend more, and that's why we're working through the process of the DIP, the Defence Investment Plan. That's why I'm working to secure more resource and the right capability. But then we go forward to the spending review next year, which provides another good opportunity to draw down very significant amounts of money that we need to invest in our armed forces. So the world is a very dangerous place at the moment. It's my job to make sure that we've got the right capabilities to defend against that threat, and that's what I'm working to achieve.
Charlie Peters there from Aldershot for Armed Forces Day. OK, a couple more your say. People wouldn't mind so much on migrants. GB Blue says this: if the migrants were on these bases, if they were surrounded by high security fencing and kept inside, they shouldn't be allowed to roam free until their claims are heard and a decision made. Putting all those undocumented men into small communities is utter madness. That was exactly my point when I was talking about trying to make those bases self-contained as well. So really, really interesting. Bring Back Common Sense says when Labour say that boat arrivals have been declining, they're not telling the truth as well. OK, coming up, you won't believe what the latest polling is saying about Labour's electoral chances if Andy Burnham is made leader. Meanwhile, Kemi appears to have annoyed everyone on the Labour benches this week. You won't want to miss my conclusion, all on GB News next.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After the record-breaking heatwave last week, things are going to start to cool down as we head towards the second half of the weekend. It is still going to be pretty hot out there through the afternoon, but we do have these weather systems coming in from the west which will push that hot air out towards the east over the coming days. But across the southeast we do have these thunderstorms that are going to move their way across East Anglia through the afternoon, so we want to keep a very close eye on them. They should move through rather quickly, leaving clear skies across the southeast. But we do have this band of rain that is moving in overnight. So cooler behind this band, but ahead of it, it is still going to be a muggy night to come. Temperatures here still around 20 degrees overnight, so still could be uncomfortable for a few people. Now, as we go through Sunday, like I said, it is going to turn a lot fresher, a bit more in the way of cloud across Scotland in the morning. Some outbreaks of some showers here, but behind it will turn a little bit brighter across Northern Ireland. But you'll see these temperatures are a lot lower than what we've seen over the last few days with that heat wave. Ahead of that front, it is still going to be a little bit warmer for a few hours before it does start to cool off. But as we go through the day, that rain will start to peter out and we will be left with this band of cloud. As we go into the afternoon, that cloud should lift and it should start to break up for the second half of the weekend, and it will just turn into a normal typical summer's day for Sunday. Temperatures still above average but around the mid-20s, so a much cooler feel than what we've seen over the last few days with those record-breaking temperatures. And through the evening, that is going to continue. It may turn a little bit windier across the very northwest of Scotland with some heavy showers at times. But then as we go through the week, we do see a more settled picture for Monday and Tuesday, and temperatures are still going to be into those low 20s.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the Great British Giveaway Golden Summer Celebration. Your chance to win 2 fantastic prizes. There's an incredible £60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also get your hands on a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the cars. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversations.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hello, welcome to GB News. We're on TV and, of course, on your digital radio. I'm Christo Fupas, in for Nana Akua over the next couple of hours, and myself and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. Joining me for the next 2 hours, former Labour advisor Paul Richards and journalist and broadcaster Claire Muldoon. Now, new polling is suggesting under Andy Burnham, Labour would beat reform if a general election was held tomorrow. So, will the King of the North save the Labour Party? And is he Britain's last chance before Farage? And why is Kemi going up in my estimation? I'll be considering the future of Britain shortly in Christo's conclusion. The Home Office's plans to house more than 5,000 asylum seekers on former military bases faces a potential legal challenge after outrage from locals and MPs. We can have that outrage from your say as well, because I've been reading that, but there's been also criticism that Labour are dumping these migrants on seats where they have zero chance of winning.
It's a very, very small village, and they're thinking of putting 1,500 people in there. Now, let's be very clear that this 1,500 is suggested as a starter.
And in more migrant news that's quite unpopular with you, I have to say, Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has unveiled a new plan to bring thousands of asylum seekers to Britain under a Ukraine-type community sponsorship scheme.
Call me a yeah, I'm a bad man. Then he then started recording me. Obviously, then I was just saying that I pushed him a lot. He's then grabbed me, then started grabbing my turban, pulled my hair, started grabbing my hair, or started punching me.
Dramatic body cam footage there released of the moment Henry Novak's killer Vikram Digwar repeatedly lies to the police, telling them his dying victim was racist, drunk, and hadn't been stabbed. That's as British Sikhs meet with Henry's mother to say, "We will not let this murder divide our community. I'll deliver my conclusion on the new questions all this raises later." Is it coming home? Will England pan Panama? Will the game be as boring as the Ghana one? The Three Lions are taking on Panama later in their World Cup group stage finale. I'll be joined by football legend Peter Shilton with his expert analysis. So, lots coming up, but before we do all of that, let's get you up to date with the latest news headlines. Here's Sophia Wensler.
Christo, thank you. It's 2 minutes past 4. Your top stories this hour. A Labour Party led by Andy Burnham would beat reform if a general election was to take place today. That's according to the latest opinion polls. It comes as the former Greater Manchester Mayor is set to unveil his economic strategy to cut the North's dependence on the South by devolving powers and money from Westminster to England's regions. In his first big policy speech since Sir Keir Starmer's resignation, Mr Burnham will set out an economic strategy under which Whitehall budgets will be slashed and money diverted to regional mayors. Meanwhile, Lord Case has warned Andy Burnham to be honest and call for a general election or risk the same fate as the last 5 Prime Ministers. The former Cabinet Secretary said Mr Burnham was walking a very difficult tightrope because he had promised change but had no mandate to deliver it. Shabana Mahmood's new refugee sponsorship scheme will open the door to thousands of new migrants, according to the Conservatives. The Home Secretary is pressing forward with plans to cut the waiting time for foreign workers and their families to gain permanent residency. The new scheme would allow organisations like universities, community groups and businesses to sponsor refugees who applied to come to the UK, and it's based on Canada's asylum model. The Home Office said the system would operate at a much higher capacity than the current UK resettlement scheme that provides a route for only a small number of people each year. Rescue efforts are continuing in Venezuela after 2 deadly back-to-back earthquakes struck the country. Almost 1,000 people have been killed and more than 3,360 are injured, according to the latest official figures. Buildings were flattened in the disaster on Wednesday, with more than 50,000 people still reported missing. Britain is marking Armed Forces Day today after Sir Keir Starmer offered an extra £1 billion to the armed forces as part of increased defence spending settlements. But critics have warned the money is still a drop in the ocean compared to what is actually needed. Meanwhile, the new Defence Secretary, Dan Jarvis, has told GBNews' national reporter, Charlie Peters, he will make sure the armed forces have the right capabilities.
We're spending more on defence than we have for more than a generation. But yes, I accept the basic point that we need to spend more. And that's why we're working through the process of the DIP, the Defence Investment Plan. That's why I'm working to secure more resource and the right capability. But then we go forward to the spending review next year, which provides another good opportunity to draw down very significant amounts of money that we need to invest in our armed forces. So the world is a very dangerous place at the moment. It's my job to make sure that we've got the right capabilities to defend against that threat, and that's what I'm working to achieve.
More than 1,000 flights have been delayed or cancelled after the heatwave brought thunderstorms and amber warnings. It comes after yet another June heat record was broken yesterday, with temperatures reaching 37.3 degrees Celsius in Suffolk. But from today, temperatures are set to drop, and there's a further risk of more thunderstorms in parts of the UK. England will face off against Panama tonight in the last group stage game for the 2026 World Cup, in what Thomas Tuchel has warned would be a complex game. It comes as a survey has revealed that nearly half of football fans believe the experience of watching the game at home has now surpassed the pub. It's understood late kickoffs and financial pressures are reinforcing the shift away from going out. Prince George has joined his mother, the Princess of Wales, to mark Armed Forces Day by visiting a military airbase. The future king, who will be 13 next month, visited RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire, where he sat in the cockpits of 2 fighter planes as he prepares for his future as head of the armed forces. A video shared by Kensington Palace shows him inspecting the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, which operates 11 aircraft and is based there. The Duke of Sussex is expected to take his children, Archie and Lilibet, to see Princess Diana's grave for the first time when they visit the UK next month. It's reported the visit to Althorpe House in Northamptonshire will take place just days after what would have been Diana's 65th birthday. The Sussexes will also attend celebrations marking the one-year countdown to the Invictus Games in Birmingham. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Christo.
Polling in today's iPaper is showing an Andy Burnham bounce. There it is. Yes, if Andy Burnham takes over from Keir Starmer, that would put Labour ahead in the polls. It's just by 1%, so maybe less of a bounce and more of a Burnham bump. But the polling shows Burnham would put Labour at 27%, just 1 point ahead of Reform on 26%, and the Conservatives on 19%. But let's not forget, this is all hypothetical. Any leader will do better in polling when it's imagined what they'll be like. I'd be interested to see how he polls when he's actually in the job. So for now, I'm not convinced. But someone who has been convincing me this week, though, is Kemi Badenoch. Hasn't the Labour lovey meltdown over her Commons performance been absolutely wonderful? Labour are trying to make out that Kemi is bringing a new, rather vulgar tone to UK politics, somewhat forgetting the multiple times they've done it themselves. That higher ground they claim to be on is rather shaky. Kemi Badenoch is starting to look like a Prime Minister in waiting. I know, you might be someone who absolutely hates the Conservatives because they screwed up so much. A botched Boris Brexit deal, the Boris wave of migrants in numbers higher than we'd ever seen before, COVID lockdown, sky-high borrowing, and at the time, the highest tax rate in history, though quite low compared to what we have today. It was certainly not the Tory way of doing things traditionally. I could go on. It's a long list of why the last incarnation of Tories weren't Tory at all. So I, like you, I'm a bit sceptical. I'm not totally convinced, but no one is perfect. And let's not forget, some of those who were part of the Tory A-team during those horrific decisions are now on the Reform front benches. So maybe some of us are prepared to forgive mistakes which have clearly been made. But it can't be denied that increasingly Kemi is giving brilliant performances in interviews and in the Commons. And this week, she was on fire at PMQs. She was utterly brutal over Ed Miliband.
The Energy Secretary is putting up bills and killing jobs. He was, he's not here, is he? He was a failed Labour leader, rejected by the electorate, brought back from the wilderness by this man, and when the going got tough, he jumped into bed with the Mayor of Manchester. It's not the first time he's betrayed someone close to him, is it?
Not the first time he's betrayed someone close to him. That is brutal. But she was even more brutal over Rachel Reeves' questionable loyalties towards Keir Starmer.
Truth is, he wouldn't be in this mess if his Chancellor had found money for the Defence Investment Plan. She lives next door to him, but wouldn't even come out to stand by him during his resignation speech. She was too busy getting ready for a selfie with the new leader. Does the Prime Minister feel let down by his Chancellor?
Oh, their faces were like thunder. And then, of course, the icing on the cake, her absolutely sublime takedown of the worst education secretary we've ever had, Bridget Phillipson.
It turns out appointing a spiteful class warrior as education secretary was a disaster.
Putting Bridget Phillipson in charge of education is like making Stevie Wonder your driving instructor. She has overseen 40,000 pupils having to change schools because of her spiteful VAT raid. What's so stupid about that policy is the richest families will just pay the VAT. It's the middle-class ones who've really had to stretch themselves who suffer. That's why it's so moronic. But the outrage at her being called a spiteful class warrior has been staggering. The Prime Minister rushed to Bridget Phillipson's defence.
The Education Secretary grew up in poverty. She knows exactly what it means to grow up in poverty. She was once reluctant to tell her story. I know her story. It's an incredible story of social mobility and success.
Yes, we heard endlessly this week about how she was raised in a council house. I don't know what that's got to do with her being dreadful at her job, but it's the hypocrisy and faux outrage at Kemi's comments that have really got me, because let's not forget, it's now been revealed before PMQs Bridget Phillipson called one of the Tory front bench a racist. Any apology for that? No. What about when David Lammy suggested Nigel Farage was in the Hitler Youth? He withdrew the comments after the backlash, but did he apologise? No. Angela Rayner, remember when she called Tories scum? She only apologised after a huge amount of pressure. You know what? If you can't take it, Labour, don't dish it out. And please quit this performative outrage when some of what you've said is frankly dreadful and far worse than being called spiteful. In fact, your outrage is laughable. The public aren't convinced by your hypocritical, performative outrage. And no Burnham bounce will change that. I mean, come on, Paul. It's been completely performative outrage. Being called spiteful is hardly the worst thing in the world when you consider some of what the Labour front bench have said in the past. So why this outrage?
Well, my outrage is not faux. It's because I support parliamentary democracy. And in our parliament, not outside of parliament, a lot of the examples you gave from outside parliament, but in the chamber of the House of Commons, there should be a certain amount of decency, decorum and respect, which is why the Speaker called her out on it. She also called people traitors and talked about people being stabbed in the back in the week after Jo Cox's anniversary. It was language entirely unbecoming of the Leader of the Opposition.
Just got rid of their leader. I mean, if they've not stabbed him in the back, what have they done?
It is language unbecoming His Majesty's opposition. My fear is she was doing it for clicks and likes and shares. She wasn't doing it as part of our parliamentary democracy. Right. She just wanted some stuff for socials.
I mean, what do you make of that? Is there a line in Parliament that is being crossed here that maybe outside of Parliament she would get away with?
Do you know, there's a bigger line in Parliament being crossed, the way that people are actually dressing. Some of the people that turn up for Parliament is just absolutely shocking. Some of the colours of people's hair, the way that some women are dressing, it's not becoming at all a professional environment. I quite like the bon vivant of the exchanges of wit at PMQs, and I think it goes a long way for us actually as the electorate. I quite enjoy listening to them sometimes and listening to their posts. I think it shows a very human side to them.
What's wrong with spiteful?
Well,
Why is spiteful
There's nothing
bad?
wrong with it. And for Lindsay Hoyle to then make it, I think he was being performative when he actually said, I want to remind the House that we need to keep language almost in a safe space here because we know that what happens outside is dreadful to some MPs. That we know, well, there is an existing issue with Farage's security. We know about the £5 million. And, you know, what happened to, indeed, David Amos, Jo Cox, etc., etc. I could go on. However, using spiteful, I really don't think that's anywhere near that. And she also hit it on the head talking about Ed Rubberband when she mentioned the fratricide when he killed his brother's attempt to become head of the party. And I think David would have been a much better leader than Ed.
I mean, he did.
Well, you're not wrong there.
He did do that.
I mean, he did do that.
What's wrong with pointing at these things out? Because I accept your point about Parliament, perhaps, you know, there needing to be some sort of standard, but surely that's completely undermined when you've got Labour MPs, right, left and centre, outside of Parliament, calling people Nazis, calling people...
Well,
You've
wanted sex
You've
toys
never heard
in
me
Parliament.
use that language ever. British Phillipson, by the way, is going to have T-shirts made saying "Spiteful Class Warrior." She's going to own that because in her argument would be she's done a lot for the kids of this country.
Not for the 40,000 that have had to leave their school.
Well, private schools are businesses, not charities. They should pay their tax, same as every other business.
Why should the children suffer?
Every other business in this country.
We've now got 2,000 fewer teachers.
You said it was wit, right? I think that kind of language is not witty. I can't imagine Mrs Thatcher using that kind of language, or William Hague.
So it was
or any
OK
of the
for
other
Alan Clark to say she's got nice
any
ankles.
of the other previous leaders. I think she crossed the line into social. It's the exification of our politics, isn't it? She was doing it to be liked and shared. But the Parliament is sacrosanct, and it should have language that is decent, and it should be modelling good behaviour for the rest of us.
There's an MP who's wanting sex toys in Parliament, for goodness sake.
But there's words that you can say in Parliament, words you can't say.
Well,
the language is policed in Parliament, quite rightly.
Lisa and Andy call Reform a disgusting party. Of course, we've had Angela Rayner calling Tories scum in Parliament. I mean, that's all terrible.
Are you sure?
Yes, she had to withdraw because...
she had to withdraw it, exactly, because the Speaker said that's not the language we use here, so she had to withdraw it.
That's way worse.
So that's the same as what we're talking about with Kemi. You're praising Kemi, but you're saying that Angela can't use that word. I'm saying they're both wrong.
No, scum...
Parliament should be decent.
It's a harder, pejorative term.
Are two different things.
Well, not according to the parliamentary lexicon of what you can and can't say. It should be a place where ideas and ideology are debated, where policy is debated, where the public can look on and see their representatives behaving well and being dressed well as well.
Yes.
I take that point. You know, it is. We should hold it to a higher standard than a TV studio or the pub.
How many times have we heard outside of Parliament Conservative MPs or MPs that have come from the right calling people fascists, Nazis or any of those sorts of things? They've all come from the left, those sorts of things.
But there is an equivalent lexicon on the right about the left, isn't there?
Well, I don't think they ever call them Nazis or things like that.
No, but they call them libtards and commies and, you know, all the other insults
I would say there's a bit of a difference between communist and Nazi. I mean, commie is a...
I don't, actually. I think they're equally murderous regimes and equally murderous ideologies.
Yeah, but Nazi immediately brings up, you know, the image of Hitler.
Well, I don't think anyone should be calling that as an insult, whether it's inside or outside Parliament.
When David Lammy uses that sort of language...
Yeah, he's wrong, he's wrong,
Sadiq Khan uses it about Donald Trump, facilitated the far right, all of these
Absolutely wrong. But in Parliament in particular, we should hold them to a higher account. They are our elected representatives.
Should she apologise, or is this Kemi's finest hour?
I'm really enjoying Kemi at the moment. I really am. She's bolstering, I think, that front bench of opposition. She's bolstering the party. She's got, you know, an exceptional speechwriter at the moment who's very funny in my view.
What do you think about the idea, though, which I think is a very fair criticism, that, of course, in opposition it's very easy to be Tory, but if they ever got, you know, did better than this poll, 19%,
19% high,
which is a good showing for them for the first time in a long time. But I imagine a lot of people, and you're saying, I've not looked closely, but a lot of people in the electorate as well will be saying, well, hang on, last time they had 14 years and they were, you know, they were further left, and also Starmer and Reeves,
and also the two by-elections, they are 1%
PMs.
and 2%
in
the last two by-elections.
Yeah, but a lot of PMs as well. Don't forget Liz Truss, and you know, they didn't deliver Brexit. We had the Boris wave. Well, we've bye to that. So we've had a lot of issues with the Conservatives, right? But I think they can now see. I think they can now see what the electorate want, what the country needs, moreover. And you know,
will they stick with it?
Will they stick with it? That's the question.
Thank you both. You're with Christo here on GB News. I'll check your say to see what you've got to say about that a little later on. But will England win tonight, or will the game be as boring as the last one? Do you know I filled the dishwasher during the last game? But we'll speak to an England goalkeeping legend next here on GB News.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right.
GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Christo in for Nana Akua here on GB News. Of course, we're on TV, we're on digital radio. You're very welcome this afternoon. Still to come, the Ginge and the Whinge. That's Harry and Meghan. They're due to visit the UK. We'll get the lowdown on their plans a little later. But first, England, well, they're seeking to bounce back from a disappointing showing against Ghana tonight as they seek to finish the group stage in style. Well, listen to that. Beautiful. Let's get patriotic. But it does look like England will have to make do without Chelsea captain Reece James, who could be out of the World Cup due to a hamstring injury. Well, let's get the lowdown and some predictions from former England goalkeeper Peter Shilton, who joins us live. Hi there, Peter.
Hello, Christo.
Thanks for taking the time to talk to us this afternoon on GB News. Now, look, I'm not a big football fan, but I love the World Cup and I love the Euros, OK? And then I become an armchair pundit. And why is it, you can answer me this and you can tell me whether this analysis is correct, why is it when we've got a game that we think is going to be quite difficult? Because Croatia was you know, a more challenging team. We seem to step up to the plate. But then when we get a team like Ghana where you think, oh my God, this will be a breeze, we're a bit of a shambles. Is that fair to say?
I think it's a bit unfair, Christo. You know, I think obviously Croatia, they wanted to win the game as much as we, so it was kind of quite an open game, really, and we did very well. I think Ghana set their stall out to frustrate us, but I think they did it really well. A lot of teams just get 10 men behind the ball and hope, but they defended very well. The couple of 2 or 3 chances we did have, we didn't do quite so well on. So I think yeah, it was a result that obviously we would like to have won, but I think tonight is one that we should win comfortably.
Well, actually, look, we're looking at these lovely pictures of you on the screen at the moment because, of course, I first got into international football Italia '90, and that was you, right?
That's right. Yeah, we were there. Semi-final.
The hand of God.
Well, that was '86. Yeah. I put my beef to bed recently on that. Links came up with an idea, and I thought it was great to put that to bed. And I was a bit annoyed from the hand of God for many years because I thought we could have won that competition. And if VAR had been there on the day, that both their goals wouldn't have been allowed. But anyway, let's get back to this World Cup.
But I think that's a really interesting point that you raised there, because we've seen it over the years, haven't we, where there are just like one little decision, and England have been subject to that for so many years, where just a bad keeper decision or a bad moment. I remember Stuart Pearce couldn't get over the fact that he previously missed a penalty. All of these things. How much do those little tiny decisions that can change the whole course of a game, how much do they stay with you years later?
Oh, I mean, they live with you forever, really. I mean, strikers and goalkeepers probably are the ones that, get most affected for obvious reasons. Strikers who miss chances and goalkeepers who make mistakes. But certainly, things can go wrong for different reasons. And as I just said, in Mexico, both goals, if VAR had been there, wouldn't have been allowed. But in 1990, we did really well, and we needed that little bit of luck at the right time, and we didn't quite get that.
So, what do you predict for Panama tonight? Do you think they're going to change their strategy somewhat?
Well, I don't think they've got much to lose. I think hopefully they'll make a game of it. I think maybe Tuchel will make 2 or 3 changes. I hope he does, because it's a long competition, and he might want to just let 1 or 2 other players in key positions get a bit of match practice. But obviously, we don't want to take it lightly. I remember we beat Panama in the 3-0 in '86, and they're not top class opposition, but I think it could be a game to just try 1 or 2 things.
We have just heard a report a moment ago that people are no longer wanting to go to the pub to watch this World Cup. They want to stay at home and watch it. And I don't know, what do you think of that? The fact that maybe the social side of football is getting lost a bit, and that people are, like we're seeing in so many things, not going to restaurants, not going to any of that stuff. What do you think of that?
Well, I'm not so sure about it, because obviously, I stay and watch it on the TV for obvious reasons. But listen, some people like the atmosphere. Maybe the drinks are a bit expensive. I don't know. Sometimes in a pub atmosphere, obviously, it's like being in the crowd at a game, I suppose. And maybe some people just want to watch it themselves. I don't really know about that, but I know that when we played in Italia '90, apparently, there were mass people watching games and getting really involved in it. And I think that's probably a really good thing for football.
All right, so any predictions on the score tonight, and any predictions on our long-term chances in this whole competition?
I think we'll win tonight, and hopefully 3-0. I'll give it. I don't think they should cause us too many problems, but as I say, you never know, really. Long term, I looked at France and I thought they looked really good. I looked at Spain, I thought they looked really good. So there's some, Brazil, Argentina. There's all those teams. But if we can get ahead of steam up and and get some rhythm and get some goals going in, we could maybe compete with them and have a chance of at least getting to the quarterfinals or semi-finals. If we're going to win it, that's to be a bit of a prediction, I think. But we always live in hope, and I think a little bit of luck at the right times. Who knows?
Finally, would you have put us, when we were playing Croatia, which I thought was just brilliant, I thought was a brilliant game, would you have put England in that game in the league of those other teams that you were just listing?
Well, you would do, because we scored 4 and we let a couple in, you know, but it was an open game, and we have got players who can play, you know, who probably, you know, Harry Kane would be compared to the best in the world, you know. Bellingham would probably be, you know, Anderson is so highly rated. You know, we've got Saka, we've got players who would compare with the best in the world. So, yeah, you know, we're up there. But whether we're quite good enough to go all the way remains to be seen. I've got my fingers, my toes, everything crossed for the boys.
Well, as you say, it's about being a good team, but sometimes it's about a decision. Sometimes there's a little sprinkling of luck. Sometimes it's the wind in the right direction. There's all sorts that gets you there. And maybe this will be the one. Lisa and Peter Shilton, England legend, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us here on GB News. My panel wanted to stay in and talk about the football because when they played Croatia, I was like, oh my God, if they play like this, we are going to win.
Yeah.
We really are. And then,
is that the royal we? Considering the Scots in the panel.
Yes, well, Scotland, I mean, you know, less said about them now.
I think that's very true.
But then just Ghana. I mean, like I said, I went and filled the dishwasher. I was so bored.
Yeah. And yet they held them on. But the thing we need to remember is this World Cup, right, driven by money clearly, with all the water breaks every 22 minutes, they had 48 teams eligible this year, and then for this World Cup, but the qualifying knockout stages, there'll be 32. That is the real World Cup, and that's what it will be happening.
It's turning into Eurovision, isn't it?
It's ridiculous. It really is. It's all about the money. I will be supporting England tonight, though, in all said and done.
Well, you should have been anyway, really.
Why?
Well, you know, because you live in England now. You need to integrate in the rest of society.
I've got English children, but I'm still a brave heart.
I'm sick to death of these.
Literally,
I'm sick to death of these immigrants not integrating and not
how
realising.
How can you call someone an interloper from crossing a border landlocked to this country?
We will have you in a migrant army camp soon. What do you think, though, Paul?
Well, I watched the France-Norway game last night with my lovely son Ollie, and what they showed was attacking football, fluid passing, one-touch passing. I know Mbappe is kind of world-class, but so is Harry Kane. And he was getting the supply of the balls, he was taking his chances, you know, and that 4-1 was absolutely deserved. Why can't we play like that? You know, when we watched the Ghana game, it was stodgy, it was slow, it was laid back, it was complacent, boring towards the end, and we got the result that we deserved. I mean, I know Ghana were behind and, you know, really massively defensive, but we should have known that. We knew that's what they were going to do. So where was the attack, Christo?
I think that's the change, though, I have to say, in the last few years that I've noticed with England from when I used to watch years ago, was that we were a lot more selfish. The players all wanted the glory, whereas now they pass so much more than they used to, and hopefully that is going to come to fruition, and we are going to win.
What's your prediction?
The World Cup. I'm going to go with Peter Shilton, 3-0, 4-0.
I reckon
4-0.
I reckon 2-0, Bellingham and Kane.
All right.
Oh, God.
What do you say?
See, Portugal is my sweepstake. And it would be really ironic if VAR lost them this game.
All right.
After not having it and them losing it without it.
All right. Well, you know, you supported Scotland anyway, so your opinion is not counted. All right. You're with Christo here on GB News. Now, should we treat migrants from all over the world the same way we treated those fleeing war from Ukraine? Open our homes to them the way we did for them? Well, the Home Secretary thinks so, and we'll have more on that next. First, though, your latest news headlines. Here's Sophia Wensler.
Christo, thank you. Your headlines at 4:33. Some breaking news. A 31-year-old man has been charged with murder following the discovery of the body of a 2-year-old girl at an address in Chertsey on Thursday evening. Kevin Kurjian, a French national who was born in the Central African Republic, has also been charged earlier today with rape of a child and sexual assault of a child and has been remanded in custody. New polling suggests under Andy Burnham, Labour would beat reform if a general election was held tomorrow. It comes amid calls for Mr Burnham to call a general election because he has promised change but has no mandate to deliver it. Rescue efforts are continuing in Venezuela after 2 deadly back-to-back earthquakes struck the country, leaving almost 1,000 people dead. Another June heat record was broken yesterday with a provisional temperature of 37.3 degrees Celsius reached in Suffolk, as temperatures are set to drop and give way to thunderstorms. Around a third of pregnancies now end in abortion, according to new figures from the Office for National Statistics. Some 32.1% of pregnancies were terminated in 2023, which is up from just 20.8% in 2010. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello there and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After the record-breaking heatwave last week, things are going to start to cool down as we head towards the second half of the weekend. It is still going to be pretty hot out there through the afternoon, but we do have these weather systems coming in from the west which will push that hot air out towards the east over the coming days. But across the southeast we do have these thunderstorms that are going to move their way across East Anglia through the afternoon, so we want to keep a very close eye on them. They should move through rather quickly, leaving clear skies across the southeast. But we do have this band of rain that is moving in overnight. So cooler behind this band, but ahead of it, it is still going to be a muggy night to come. Temperatures here still around 20 degrees overnight, so still could be uncomfortable for a few people. Now, as we go through Sunday, like I said, it is going to turn a lot fresher, a bit more in the way of cloud across Scotland in the morning. Some outbreaks of some showers here, but behind it will turn a little bit brighter across Northern Ireland. But you'll see these temperatures are a lot lower than what we've seen over the last few days with that heat wave. Ahead of that front, it is still going to be a little bit warmer for a few hours before it does start to cool off. But as we go through the day, that rain will start to peter out and we will be left with this band of cloud. As we go into the afternoon, that cloud should lift and it should start to break up for the second half of the weekend. And it will just turn into a normal, typical summer's day for Sunday. Temperatures still above average, but around the mid-20s, so a much cooler feel than what we've seen over the last few days with those record-breaking temperatures. And through the evening, that is going to continue. It may turn a little bit windier across the very northwest of Scotland with some heavy showers at times. But then as we go through the week, we do see a more settled picture for Monday and Tuesday, and temperatures are still going to be into those low 20s.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
To all of you who voted for GB News to win at the Trick Awards for the 4th year in a row.
The winner is GB News.
Thank you so much for voting for us. It's because of you that we're so proud to be the People's Channel, and it's because of you that we are Britain's news channel.
It's voted for the people who watch us.
Well, we've got the best viewers in the world, haven't we? The most loyal viewers.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Christo here in for Nana. I'm just taking a look at your say at the moment. Lots of you, a few of you have been commenting on the fact that you have to, people are staying at home rather than watching the football in a pub now. The average price of a pint of lager in the UK is £5.23, says Lance Corporal Jones. Although overall national estimates, I don't think he is a Lance Corporal, by the way, I think that's just the name on here. But the broader cost of a pint across all beer types is around £5.50. If you live in London, probably more. So I'd rather sit in comfort at home and have a nice glass of whiskey. I'm heading to the pub tonight, without a doubt. I love being in the pub for the football. There's just something about it. Another one here as well. Lots of you wanting to talk about that latest migrant story as well. Opening our homes as shortly after they will be taking them. Ask Paul how many he will be housing in his home. Sean says massive difference between women and children from Ukraine and an illegal trying their luck from France. Well, actually, we're going to be talking about that in a moment, and later I'll be delivering my conclusion as well on yet more horrific revelations regarding the tragic case of Henry Novak and the police failings. But, as you've been hearing, organisations and community groups will be able to sponsor thousands of asylum seekers to come to Britain under a new scheme unveiled by Shabana Mahmood. The Home Secretary is pressing ahead with plans first floated last November to create new, safe and legal routes for refugees. Well, I'm now joined by the founder of the Sanctuary Foundation, Dr. Krish Kandahar. Hello there, Dr. Krish.
Good afternoon, Christo.
Thanks for taking the time.
I'm coming from my car today. We had an emergency trip to the river because it's really warm where we are. Hope everyone at home is staying nice and cool.
Oh, well, I'm sure that they are, but I think they're getting a little hot under the collar at the idea of more people being allowed to come here under a scheme similar to that of the Ukraine scheme. People, I think, could be paid around £350 to house a migrant from another war-torn country. Why do we need this scheme? Surely it's going to encourage more people to want to come here.
Well, Christo, I'm very excited today to be an English person. And in our history, we've shown great generosity, yes, to people from Ukraine, but in 1939, the UK welcomed 10,000 Jewish children fleeing the Nazis. And it's a very similar scheme because people in the UK decide that they would like to welcome a refugee family. Nothing's being pushed on them. This is about giving power to the local community, and they can decide for themselves if they'd like to sponsor a refugee, exactly the same way that we did for Ukraine. Now, that means no one needs to get on a small boat. No one actually gets to come without being properly vetted. They'll have a visa so they can get on a cheap flight in order to come here, just like we did from Ukraine. So actually, our hope is that this will stop people needing to make those dangerous journeys across the Channel, and we won't have so many asylum seekers because the people that come will be classified as refugees that have had that status before they leave their country, and then they'll get a warm welcome here. They won't be put into hotels. Local people can choose whether they have them in their homes or whether they help them rent a property. And this is all about giving power to local communities to show the compassion that Britain has shown over many years to many different groups of people.
When you consider the mood of the nation at the moment, I would say on the priority list of the average British person, the idea of making it easier for some people to come here would be nowhere near their top list of priorities. People want to hear that the boats are being turned around. People want to hear that no boats are coming across the Channel at all. Now, if you were to say to me, every single boat now will be turned around, however, we have this scheme in conjunction so we could take a handful of genuine people, I think probably people would be more sympathetic towards this scheme. Some won't be, but some might be. But what they're saying now is we're going to have the scheme where we have genuine people who are going to be vetted this way, and we have the boats as well. That's not what people want.
Mr. I think you and I both agreed we don't want people crossing the Channel in a boat.
But it's not going to stop them.
And when a similar scheme to this was run in America, it stopped people crossing the southern border, because if you did make your own way across, you lost the right to be able to come under this safe and legal route. So in places where it has been tried, it does actually help with those boat crossings. And I think we're agreed, you know, Britain can be shown compassion to people in need. We did it for Ukraine. No Ukrainians got on a boat. They got on an EasyJet flight or a Wizz Air flight, and we picked them up from the airport. And again, this is not imposition. If no one in Britain wants this to happen, then no one will come forward to sponsor. But if people do and are willing to put in the time and the effort, then we're giving them the democratic right of being able to welcome people. So there's no push from the government. It's all on us, civil society.
Why isn't the government doing a scheme? You know, again, most people are going to be absolutely infuriated at the idea that the government will come up with a scheme where they would pay people to take in a refugee from another country. Where's the scheme to take in a veteran who's homeless? Where's the scheme to take in another kind of homeless or vulnerable person? Where's that scheme? Where's the money for that?
I think it's a really good idea to have a scheme where homeless veterans could be hosted in people's homes. I don't think it's a zero-sum game here. The Homes
But
for
it
Ukraine
is, because
scheme
that's not
did
being
pay
announced.
The Homes for Ukraine scheme did pay people to look after Ukrainians, but there's no talk at the moment of people getting paid to help on this scheme. In fact, in previous schemes, local people actually raised money to help with this. So there wasn't a lot of government money sloshing around.
The Ukraine scheme was different, though. The Ukraine scheme was different because we knew. Firstly, we knew directly they were coming from a war zone. They hadn't passed through any other countries on the way, and it was mainly women and children. Now, again, I think if you've said to a British person, look, you know, there is a child that is in need of a home from a war zone, I think Britons are incredibly compassionate and would probably say, you know what, I get that. But these are going to be young men.
We don't know that, Christo, because...
Of course it's going to be young men. It's mainly young men coming on the boats.
People get to choose. So, for example, let's say you've got a friend who's in Nigeria and needs to get out. You can say, look, I can accommodate you if you're a mother and a son, but I can't help anybody else. Then you can sponsor that mother and a son. It will be completely up to you as a sponsor.
Why? OK, just one final point I want to make on this. We have a population in this country that in the last 30 years has risen more than any time previously to that 30 years. We've had more people come from 1997 to today than we have from 0 to 1997. We do not have the infrastructure to make it easier for more people to come here. We just don't.
Well, you'll probably be aware that net migration has gone down by 80%. And people coming as refugees makes up a very small percentage of that.
We've got to leave it there, but thank you very much indeed from the Sanctuary Foundation.
I think you're right.
Candia, thank you very much indeed. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood said Britain has always offered sanctuary to those fleeing war and persecution. This system survives if the public trusts that it's fair, controlled and not open to abuse. All right, coming up, the Ginge and the Whinge are heading back to Blighty. That's Harry and Meghan. But first, well, here is some holiday sun at the top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
The very hot weather in Western Europe pushes eastwards through this weekend. Sunny and warm for many other areas of Europe throughout this weekend. Highs of 28 degrees in Tenerife on Sunday. There's a risk of heavy rain and thunderstorms moving up across parts of Spain as well as France. Over the Alps as well, a risk of thundery downpours, and it will turn very hot across parts of Italy in particular through Sunday. But here's your outlook. It remains very sunny for many areas. Temperatures in the low to high 30s. Have a good day.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
And it's Father's Day. I don't know if my dad's up yet. If you are, happy Father's Day.
He's already texted.
Is he?
He's tuning in.
Mr. Reaper, good morning to you.
Sunday, well, speaking of Sunday lunches, he'll be having a roast pork joint later, courtesy of myself.
Good, good.
Cards and gifts are a big part of the day, of course, but it's also important to remember that there is more to it than that.
Yeah, because it's not just about one day, is it? Actually, it's like, what do dads do? And healthy fathers, a healthy sort of father-son, father-daughter relationship builds strong families, builds strong communities and helps build a strong country, actually.
Well, that is why mentoring the next generation matters more than ever. So take a little extra time today, make sure you do, to appreciate not just the fathers or the grandfathers or the uncles out there, but any strong father figure that you may have.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Welcome back to Breakfast, 25 minutes past 6. And breaking news this morning, the TV presenter Jeremy Clarkson has revealed that he's been diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer in an emotional video.
in the scenes, he's telling his co-stars Caleb Cooper and Charlie Ireland, his land agent and his farm manager, and they're both devastated, as you can imagine. You know, it's a huge bombshell to drop on them. He's only 66. He's made no secrets that he's maybe not lived the healthiest lifestyle. After the heart problems, he bemoans having to eat Greek yogurt and kale and whatnot. But following this, I think he's going to have a complete lifestyle overhaul even further, and just fingers crossed the treatment proves effective.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Hello there, Emily and Tom. Yes, some breaking news in the last few moments from Kensington Palace regarding our future king, Prince George of Wales, the oldest son of the Prince and Princess of Wales. The short statement from Kensington Palace reads, Kensington Palace can confirm that Prince George will attend Eton College in September. That news just coming in from the royal household in the last few moments. This clearly is, well, perhaps not surprising news for those in royal circles. Eton College, the most prestigious school, arguably in the country, educating 20 prime ministers, and of course Prince George's own father and uncle, Prince William and Prince Harry, as well as 2 Dukes of Gloucester, the Duke of Kent and Prince Michael of Kent as well. So that confirmation just coming in from Kensington Palace. £63,000 a year it costs to send a child to Eton College.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Afternoon, it's Christo Infanana here on GB News, and coming up I'll be delivering my conclusion about some of the latest revelations regarding the tragic Henry Novak case and the new questions that need to be answered. But in the meantime, the Duke of Sussex expected to bring his children, Archie and Lilibet, to the UK to see Princess Diana's grave for the first time when they arrive next month. Well, joining me now is former senior gardener to King Charles, Jack Stooks. Now, Jack, I'm really cynical when Harry and Meghan want to come to the UK because, you know, for a long time they've been incredibly critical of the royal family, and every time it seems like there is a meeting or that they get together, it ends up in a magazine or in a book or in some way monetised. I think that's a fair criticism. So what are the assurances that this time it will be different?
Do you know, that's the thing, we don't know if it is going to be different. But some time has passed since they last sort of had a piece of write-up about the royal family. They have been quite quiet. In fairness, we've just seen a lot more of Meghan's product being advertised and not much else. Now, they're coming to do the countdown to the year before his great sort of amazing thing that he does with Invictus Games. Yeah, and isn't that amazing that has done well and that continues to do well? So it's a positive thing that they're coming for. It's the first time he's bringing his family where they're all going to remember it. So
sure. I mean, the danger is, though, that the reason there hasn't been much from them in the way of revelations, shall we say, is because there hasn't been that contact. By re-establishing contact, you know, so for instance, in Harry's book, it gave the details of the meeting that they had when Prince Philip's funeral. It gave details of meetings he'd had with William. It gave details of when he saw the Queen lying in state just after she died. Really intimate stuff. Because there hasn't been any of that the last couple of years, then you know, that means they haven't had the chance to write about it. Isn't this opening it up for them to write about this again?
Let's hope not. Let's hope that enough time has passed, that they're going to come over, quietly see the family. Well, this is what we're hoping. We're hoping it's going to be a nice, quiet visit, that we might not see too much of them. I'm sure we're going to see some of them. But, you know, they're wanting to take his children to see Diana's grave at Althorpe. And we've got that coming up. I think that's on the 10th or the 11th. That's when Althorpe seems to be closed. So fingers crossed it is going to be a private, quiet visit.
All right. I don't know if we're all convinced, but thank you very much indeed for that one. That's Jack Stooks, former royal gardener. OK, coming up, I'll be delivering my conclusion on more horrific revelations around Henry Novak next, after the weather.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After the record-breaking heatwave last week, things are going to start to cool down as we head towards the second half of the weekend. It is still going to be pretty hot out there through the afternoon, but we do have these weather systems coming in from the west which will push that hot air out towards the east over the coming days. But across the southeast we do have these thunderstorms that are going to move their way across East Anglia through the afternoon, so we want to keep a very close eye on them. They should move through rather quickly, leaving clear skies across the southeast. But we do have this band of rain that is moving in overnight. So cooler behind this band, but ahead of it, it is still going to be a muggy night to come. Temperatures here still around 20 degrees overnight, so still could be uncomfortable for a few people. Now, as we go through Sunday, like I said, it is going to turn a lot fresher, a bit more in the way of cloud across Scotland in the morning. Some outbreaks of some showers here, but behind it will turn a little bit brighter across Northern Ireland. But you'll see these temperatures are a lot lower than what we've seen over the last few days with that heat wave. Ahead of that front, it is still going to be a little bit warmer for a few hours before it does start to cool off. But as we go through the day, that rain will start to peter out and we will be left with this band of cloud. As we go into the afternoon, that cloud should lift and it should start to break up for the second half of the weekend, and it will just turn into a normal typical summer's day for Sunday. Temperatures still above average but around the mid-20s, so a much cooler feel than what we've seen over the last few days with those record-breaking temperatures. And through the evening, that is going to continue. It may turn a little bit windier across the very northwest of Scotland with some heavy showers at times. But then as we go through the week, we do see a more settled picture for Monday and Tuesday, and temperatures are still going to be into those low 20s.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather.
We're celebrating a golden summer with a terrific two-part Great British giveaway. First, you could win a sensational £60,000 in tax-free cash. And that's not all, as you'll also win our most precious prize to date, a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
We can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hello, welcome to GB News. We're, of course, on your TV, your digital radio as well. I'm Christo Fufast, in for Nana Akua for the next hour. Myself and my panel will be taking on the big topics in the headlines right now. Joining me for the next hour, we've got former Labour advisor Paul Richards. You're not very popular on your say, Paul, I have to say. Journalist and broadcaster Claire Muldoon. You are a bit more popular on your say, Claire.
So a bit more popular than you mean?
Oh, all right. She started already. OK, new polling suggesting under Andy Burnham, Labour would beat Reform if a general election was held tomorrow. So, oh God, I hate this phrase, but I'll say it anyway. Will the King of the North save the Labour Party, and is he Britain's last chance before Farage? Why is Kemi also doing so well? We've been talking about that on Christo's Conclusion. You can catch up on the GB News YouTube channel. Meanwhile, the Home Office's plans to house more than 5,000 asylum seekers on former military bases faces a potential legal challenge after outrage from locals and MPs. That's amid criticism that Labour are dumping these migrants on seats where they have zero chance of winning.
It's a very, very small village, and they're thinking of putting 1,500 people in there. Now, let's be very clear that this 1,500 is suggested as a starter.
Call me a bad. Yeah, I am a bad man. Then he then started recording me. Obviously, then I've just I pushed him a lot. He's then grabbed me, then started grabbing my turban, pulled my hair, started grabbing my hair, was like punching me.
That's some of the dramatic body cam footage which has just been released of the moment Henry Novak's killer, Vikram Digwa, repeatedly lies to the police, saying to them that his dying victim was racist, drunk and hadn't been stabbed. That's as British Sikhs meet with Henry's mother to say, "We will not let this murder divide our community. I'll deliver my conclusion on the new questions this all raises in a moment." And is it coming home? Will England pan Panama? The Three Lions taking on the country in their World Cup group stage finale. We'll talk about that. But before we get started, let's get you up to date with the latest news headlines. Here's Sophia Wensler. Actually, you're still with me, Christo, here on GB News and on digital radio. In the last 24 hours, yet more horrific details have come to light about the death of Henry Novak. This comes after the transcript has also been released this week of the full dreadful incident. Now, just a warning, this is going to have some distressing details and images. This new footage, which shows Novak's killer, the horrific Vikram Digwa, repeatedly lying to police, and it shows how he says Novak had been both racist and violent.
Like I said, so I was literally just walking there and I seen him. He's then barged into me. Okay. I've said to him, "Look, clearly, mate, you're drunk." I could smell, you can smell the alcohol.
All of that was just lies. Now, at this point, whilst Digwa is saying all of that, Henry is on the floor dying, and the police, just behind the wall, where you can see that footage, are giving Henry CPR. Digwa didn't tell them he'd stabbed him. After Henry had stopped breathing for 13 minutes, Vikram Digwa is arrested and read his rights.
At this time, I'm arresting you on suspicion of attempt murder. Okay? Huh? Do not have to say anything. Remain on your defence. If you don't mention when questioned, something which you may later rely on court. Anything you do so may be given evidence. Okay? The necessities are for a prompt and effective investigation. Okay? And for any further harm and injury. You've got your side of the story, mate. We don't know what's going on here. Okay? So we need to find out. Okay?
Now, at no point is Vikram Digwa handcuffed. Remember Henry Novak, when dying on the floor, he was handcuffed. Digwa still tries to claim he's been racially attacked, and the police, well, they treat him with kid gloves.
okay, and we'll get it all sorted, all right? I'm not saying you've done anything, mate, but we need to find out what's happened, okay?
Mate, I've been raised.
I know. Okay.
I've been racially attacked. I know. Let's just compare the way in which Digwa was treated with how Henry Novak was treated. As Novak lay dying, he repeatedly told the police he'd been stabbed.
Come running around the corner.
What's happened to you, right? Been stabbed. You've been stabbed? Whereabouts? I don't think you have, mate.
I don't think you have, mate. Yes, police put handcuffs on Henry, but Digwa was treated like their mate. Unbelievable. And now a transcript of the whole incident was released this week too, with the approval of Henry's family. In it, we discover Henry Novak was handcuffed for 3 minutes before he stopped breathing. The police then start chest compressions, but Henry is still unresponsive. Officers then see blood coming out of his nose. It's only then, 8 minutes after they arrived, 5 minutes after they'd started these chest compressions, they realise Henry has been stabbed in the chest. And then it sinks in. They've been doing chest compressions on a stab wound, therefore potentially making it worse. This leads to serious new questions for the police. Why did they take 8 minutes to find Henry's stab wound? If they knew there was a chance he'd been stabbed, why did they start chest compressions? What would an independent pathologist say about this? So how much did those chest compressions and the fact Henry was handcuffed make his chest injury worse? Did both those things contribute to him dying? Why didn't they handcuff Vikram Digwa? Why did they treat him like a mate? All of these things that have been revealed this week add to the original questions we have. Why did police immediately believe the perpetrator rather than the victim dying in front of them? What part, if any, did that racism allegation play in the police's complete lack of critical thinking? Is it a DEI problem? And why have our leaders already ruled out racism playing any part in this case when the police were literally responding to a false allegation of racism? So, of course, racism plays a part in this. We really need the IOPC and HM Police Inspectorate, who Hampshire Police have called in, to answer these questions and report on their findings as soon as possible. Now, none of this will bring Henry back, but it might stop this ever happening again, so that poor boy did not die in vain. OK, we're now joined by former New Scotland Yard Detective Superintendent Shabnam Chowdhury. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today here on GB News. I mean, those are surely legitimate questions that the police seemed to lose all their critical thinking skills when they arrived on the scene, and whether that allegation of racism, particularly the allegation of racism, played a part in that.
Yeah, good afternoon. I think your summary of the timeline sort of said it all, really. Absolutely. The investigation by the IOPC will cover the officers who attended the scene. They need to justify their actions and be held to account as to why they made the decisions that they made. But I think that they also need to add, did race take a part in that? Was there unconscious bias by the officers? Was race the issue? Now, we know that it was an allegation of a racist attack, but I think the question that they'll be asking the officers is what was in their mind at the time for them to have made the decisions that they did. And I think there's something really important that you just mentioned here in respect of Digwa and the way that he was treated. Again, the officers will be held to account for that. The officer was very calm. Digwa was very calm in the way that he dealt with him. But he just arrested him for attempted murder. OK, so they knew by that time that the victim, Henry, had been stabbed at least 4 or 5 times. I wouldn't have known that much information at the time. But they also didn't have the weapon because that was not at the scene, as I understand it. So there would be a weapon outstanding. Therefore, it would make complete sense to absolutely handcuff Digwa and to also search him there and then on the scene in order to ensure, one, safety to himself, two, safety to the police officers, and three, to those when he gets into custody, safety for those officers, because we know that when perpetrators are brought into custody, they do attack police officers. We've seen that. We've seen officers being murdered because of the way that the perpetrators have not been.
What would you say, though? Because I've heard some police officers saying, actually on this channel, saying, well, actually, the police officers, when it came to this as it was, allegation of attempted murder at that point that they were arresting Digwa for, they acted in completely the right way because they were being pally-pally with him. And they were doing that because they wanted to build up trust so that he would perhaps be more open in confessing what he had done. What would you say to that?
Well, I'm sorry, but that sounds like absolute nonsense. The bottom line is this: he's been arrested for attempted murder. There's a weapon outstanding. The officers would have had a duty of care to themselves and to Digwa, because he could have caused harm to himself. When you build a rapport with a perpetrator, you might sit them in the back of the van. You do not talk about the case. You might build up some sort of a conversation with them to see what, if they even confess themselves. But they're not going to be the officers that are going to be dealing with him for that particular matter. It will go to either the detectives or the murder command, as it did in this particular case. So the rapport that they would have been for a very short period of time. They, as police officers on the front line, and I am saying that they have to be held to account. They only know why they made the decisions that they made. But I don't personally buy that they were doing it because they wanted to build up a rapport and because he was pally-pally. I'm sorry, you had a young, dying boy. He was a boy lying, bleeding out on the floor. And the priority should have been him, and also to have moved Digwa away from the scene. There's so much that looks as if it went so terribly wrong, and those officers need to be answering the questions as to why it went so horribly wrong.
What the perception is, and I'm not an expert on these things, but my perception is that I think that they are almost a symptom. I'm not excusing the officers, but I almost think that they're symptomatic in as much as they arrived at the scene, and I think there is such a fear nowadays. I think DEI was well-intentioned, but I think there is such a fear now that if you get something when it comes to racism or homophobia or something like that wrong, if you are someone who is a public servant, that fear overwhelms everything else. And so I think they arrived at that scene with preconceived ideas, it seems like, of what had gone on without critically thinking when they arrived. And then it led to a catalogue of errors, and they panicked and they started doing CPR, and it's led to the more recent questions I've just given. Do you think that is a fair assessment of what might have happened?
I don't think so in this particular case. I think they went to the scene, an allegation had been made, and they were there to investigate it. They didn't investigate it. But I will say this. When it comes to, for example, stop and search, police officers don't necessarily feel that they get the support that they should get. They, disproportionately stop young black men. And a lot of officers, I know this for a fact, have also said it on social media and to me personally, that they won't necessarily go and conduct stop and search with some individuals because they do have the fear that they might get targeted for race. But if you're professional, if you're ethical, if you use your powers correctly, then you shouldn't have any fear. You should be able to do your job ethically, professionally, use the requirements of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984, and be able to do your job properly. But there will be those officers out there that won't do it because they fear that they might get labelled racist.
And I think there's an argument. I don't know that for sure, but I think that is a question that needs to be addressed and asked when it comes to the conduct of the officers on the scene in this. Listen, former Scotland Yard Detective Superintendent Shabnam Chowdhury, thanks for taking the time to talk to us here about this on GB News. Let's go to my panel on this. Paul Richards, former Labour advisor, journalist and broadcaster Claire Muldean. Paul, let me come to you first. I mean, it seems like, I'll put exactly the same to you that I just put to Shabnam Chowdhury. They lost their critical thinking skills. They arrived with a preconceived conclusion, victim here, perpetrator down there, and everything else went out of their mind, even though this apparent perpetrator was pale, bleeding and dying in front of them.
I mean, I'm a dad, and watching that footage is just so incredibly upsetting. I mean, it's just awful to watch and to even talk about. I think it's dangerous, however, to ascribe thoughts to those police officers without the proper evidence that will come out from the inquiry.
Isn't what we can see evidence enough?
But we don't know what was going through their minds to make them such a series of such terrible, deadly decisions that they did. They will have to justify those in front of a police complaints process, and that will have to get to the truth of it. Now, we don't know why they did what they did. And the questions you raised in your monologue there, Christo, are absolutely the right questions to ask. You know, is it a systemic cultural issue across the whole of the police force, or is it a couple of idiots making terribly bad decisions?
That's a really important question, because, Claire, I'll put this to you. My fear is, right, that these officers who acted appallingly, what will happen is they will be punished, the scapegoats, whatever else, or however you want to phrase it.
Well, held to account. They must be held to account.
Fine. And then everyone will go, brilliant, sorted. They acted dreadfully that day. Rather than address whether there is a wider issue with the way in which people tiptoe around the area of race when it comes to investigating things.
I think that has to come out from the IOPC, but sitting here right now, we need to obviously, you know, remember that a child's life, a young man's life was taken. Now, the police, the first thing should have been going through their mind was to police without fear or favour. Clearly, this didn't happen there. Officers must uphold the law impartially and must, you know, ensure equal and protection for all citizens. How was that treatment of Henry Novak equal when he was lying and it took them 8 minutes to realise he'd been stabbed? 8 crucial minutes of him being handcuffed with his hands behind his back, of him saying, "I've been stabbed." Digwa standing there. Digwa standing there.
Yeah, and saying that he'd... I don't know if we saw this bit, but saying that he'd fallen over the bins.
Yes.
Why is he injured? Oh, nothing. I mean, clearly, Vikram Digwa is an evil, horrific individual.
And when the police found the knife, they found 20 other knives as well. So if he'd been stopped and searched, perhaps it might not have happened. And we know there's evidence to suggest that that might have happened and he wasn't caught.
Well, look, we're going to keep talking about this story, as upsetting as it might be, because I think it's really important that we keep asking these questions. And, well, as you've been hearing, the actions of the officer and response of Hampshire Constabulary are being investigated by the Independent Office for Police Conduct and HM Police Inspectorate. But it's important to note that at Digwa's sentencing, the judge said that the genuine shock to the particular police officer when he realised he had been giving CPR to Henry when he had a serious chest wound tends to show he was doing his best in a very difficult situation. He also acknowledged that the attending police officers had been given a very convincing but wholly false narrative of the incident by Digwa, and added that sometimes someone arrested and handcuffed will feign injury in the hope of being released. OK. Moving on. Today marks Armed Forces Day. British people across the country are acknowledging the sacrifices made by serving and former military personnel, as well as part of Armed Forces Week. GB News national reporter Charlie Peters sent us this report from Aldershot.
On Forces Day at Aldershot Garrison, the spiritual home of the British Army, we've seen representatives from all 3 services, the Army, the Navy and the Air Force, taking part in a parade earlier where they took a salute from the Chief of the Defence Staff, but also had an opportunity to take in applause from locals here, paying their respects and saying thank you to the regulars, the reservists, the veterans and cadets, all part of the demonstrations today. But as part of the demonstrations, they're also showing off the kit and equipment that the Armed Forces boasts. And I'm very happy to say I'm joined now by Flight Lieutenant Johnson, who is a pilot in the RAF for a Chinook that's behind him. How does it feel to be here today?
Yeah, it's brilliant. As you said, you know, there's 20,000 people here. It's so nice to be able to bring our aircraft in and show it off to the public. I think pretty much every single person we've spoken to today says we've flown over their house at some point. So to finally get to see the aircraft up in person for them, I think is quite a nice thing.
Excellent. And you landed here this morning. And what's it like being here with the people coming up to you and checking out the kit you've got? Is it an opportunity to show off?
Yeah, it's an opportunity to show off, and I think it's also an opportunity to kind of clarify a few things. You know, people have, like I said, people have seen these from the air a lot of the time, and they wonder about the aircraft and all of the ways that it works. And obviously, it's an incredible machine. So it's our chance to kind of, one, show off the aircraft that we get to fly, and two, kind of tell them about it as well in a way that they understand.
There's a lot of debate and discussion about the future of defence at the moment. I'm not going to make you answer any political questions, don't worry. But how does it feel amid all of that swirling discussion to know that you have the backing of the public?
Yeah, it's brilliant. And like you said, you know, to have Armed Forces Day and see all of these people turn out to come and see us and show their support, yeah, it makes us feel good as well.
Flight Lieutenant Johnson, thank you very much for your time today. Well, there you've heard it. It's an opportunity to show off and explain and also lap up some of the pride that people are feeling here for all three branches of the Armed Forces.
That's Charlie Peters there, our national reporter in Aldershot for Armed Forces Day. All right, it's Christo here on GB News in for Nana. Now, will England win tonight or will the game be as boring as the last one? We'll speak to, well, someone who is in the know next, right here on GB News.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK. GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hey, it's Christo here on GB News. You're very welcome indeed. Thank you so much for your company. Thanks for all of the comments on your sale. Trying to get to some more of those before we finish today. Still to come, though, as the heat wave hits. I love this story. I love this story so much. The EU Commission has shut off its air conditioning in most of its headquarters, apart from Ursula von der Leyen's office. That is where the air conditioning stays. I love this, and I love our overreaction here. It's hot, so we have to be even hotter. Nice one. But first, England will seek to bounce back from the disappointing showing against Ghana tonight as they seek to finish the group stage in style. Come on, England! But it does look like England will have to make do without Chelsea captain Reece James. He could be out of the World Cup due to a hamstring injury. Well, our reporter Isabel Fekulak is in Southampton. Isabel, where are you?
Good evening. I'm currently in a pub. Excitement here already building ahead of the kick-off that's in about 4.5 hours. England's final group game against Panama. Of course, fans will be hoping for a better outcome than that draw we saw against Ghana earlier in the week. And we do have history on our side. The last time we played Panama was in 2018 and we beat them 6-1. So fans will be hoping for a similar outcome. Now here in the Lion, they said their tables are fully booked for the evening, like many other pubs. They will be busy. Hello there. I'm going to speak to you now. How many pints do you think you're going to be pouring tonight?
A good few hundred tonight. We're packed, as you've said, all fully booked, so I reckon a good few hundred tonight.
And you're an England fan, as we can see. Yeah. What are you hoping for tonight? Any predictions?
Hopefully a comfortable 4-0 win. Harry Kane hat-trick.
Lovely. Thank you very much for coming on. We're going to go round to some more fans in the garden here. It's a little pub, but it's, you know, getting busy already. Hello, how are you? I can see you're in your England shirt. Ready for the game today?
Yeah, buzzing for it. Bring it on.
What are you hoping to see today?
Something a little bit better than the other night. I think that was disappointing. It'd be good to finish the group stage with a strong performance and something that will make the world think that England's actually serious and yeah, it's coming on. But
any players that you think might stand out today?
I think it'd be nice to see Jude Bellingham step up again, Harry Kane after his miss. But yeah, I think Pickford's always going to be do a good shift for us. But no, yeah, the key ones. It'd be nice to see what some of the new lads can do as well.
And obviously we had that draw, the 0-0 against Ghana earlier in the week. Do you think that we're going to go into this game with a bit more confidence, or do you think that will have set them back?
I think we've got to forget about what happened at Ghana. I think it wasn't great, but you've always got we always have that one game in the group stage which doesn't tend to go our way, so it's not going to stop us winning the whole thing.
And of course it's all still up for grabs. Do you think we'll be top of the group?
Oh, it's got to be. It's in our favour. I think Panama are the only team, one of the only teams who haven't scored in the tournament. We can't just say it's going to be easy, but no, I reckon it's definitely in our hands, and comfortably we finish top.
Brilliant, let's hope so. Thank you for coming on. So hopeful fans here in Southampton will be chatting to more and more throughout the night. We'll also be heading to the fan zone, which will be getting packed up. Of course, kick-off is at 10 o'clock tonight, and with England, is England's final match in the group stage. No one yet to claim the top spot there, so it's all up for grabs tonight.
I mean, I'm just looking it up. Is it really at 10 o'clock tonight? I'm going to the.
Yes,
I'm going to the.
We can stay awake till then.
I'm going to the pub at 7:30, Isabel. I'm going to be buzz-eyed by 10 p.m. I can't be up that late.
I think there might be quite a few pints consumed before kick-off tonight.
I know I might have to have a little power nap when I get home. I mean, I don't know, because it wears me out watching them all running around so much. I don't know. I'm going to do it. Listen, Isabel, thank you. Sterling work going to the pub for us. Well done, you. That's Isabel Fekulak in Southampton. I can't believe it's at 10 o'clock. Why didn't anyone tell me? I think I misread it and I thought it was at 20 o'clock, 8 o'clock. 10 p.m.? Oh, my God, honestly. I mean, I'm going to be no use to anyone if I've been in the pub since 7:30. I don't know what I'm going to do. Let's see what you're saying on your side. Maybe you've got some advice as to how I can stay awake. I dread to think what you're going to come up with. OK. Geraint is very unconvinced by the polling that we gave you from the weekend, saying that Labour would be marginally ahead of Reform if Andy Burnham becomes leader. It's a fake poll, if ever I saw one. No one likes Labour. Now more Burnham is in, except people in the Labour Party. Maybe they just asked people in the Labour Party. Another one as well here. Diana says Andy Burnham won't change the fact that he is Starmer in disguise. I don't think Labour will change. Thank you very much indeed for that. Another one as well. Someone's very excited that Darren is on the Saturday 5 tonight. He is. I've seen him. He's in the building. I have seen Darren in the building earlier, and he started his makeup. What time Saturday 5? 6 o'clock. He was starting his makeup at 3:30, and they're hoping to be done with him by about 5:45. So it's about 2.25 hours of makeup for him. I saw a couple of cans of Dulux being taken to the makeup room as well. So basically, I think that he's going to be fully primed. He's going to look like Barbara Cartland by 6 o'clock. Another one here as well. Mad Billermand and the Cabinet Office will have their aircon on. I'm sure that that's what they're saying, because I'm all right, Jack. Thank you very much indeed for that. And some of you as well, on a more serious note, deciding to comment on the Henry Novak revelations and the latest footage. Steve says, I've lost a loved one. I know only too well the pain, uncertainty and frustration the family must be facing at this time. I have serious concerns about all of this, the IOPC and all of these sorts of things. And sadly, incidents involving deaths or serious harm following police contact occur far too frequently. It's a much longer message that you've given there, Steve, and I thank you for it. I can't get through all of it, but I hope I've given a little taste of it there as well. So a lot that we have been discussing. Please do continue to get your comments in at gbnews.com/your say. You can also use the QR code on the screen as well if you want to join the conversation. It's Christo here on GB News. Still to come, well, as the heat wave hits, as you've been hearing, the EU Commission have shut off their air conditioning in most of its headquarters, apart from Ursula von der Leyen's office. And so we'll be talking about that and much more coming up. But first, your latest news headlines. Here's Sophia Wensler.
Christo, thank you. Your headlines at 5:31. A 31-year-old man has been charged with murder following the discovery of the body of a 2-year-old girl at an address in Chertsey on Thursday evening. Kevin Kurjian, a French national who was born in the Central African Republic, was also charged earlier today with the rape of a child and sexual assault of a child and has been remanded in custody. New polling suggests under Andy Burnham, Labour would beat reform if a general election was held today. It comes amid calls for Mr Burnham to call a general election because he has promised change but has no mandate to deliver it. Rescue efforts are continuing in Venezuela after 2 deadly back-to-back earthquakes struck the country, leaving almost 1,000 people dead. Prince George has joined his mother, the Princess of Wales, to mark Armed Forces Day by visiting a military airbase today. The future king, who will be 13 next month, visited RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire, where he sat in the cockpits of 2 fighter planes as he prepares for his future as head of the Armed Forces. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello there and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After the record-breaking heatwave last week, things are going to start to cool down as we head towards the second half of the weekend. It is still going to be pretty hot out there through the afternoon, but we do have these weather systems coming in from the west which will push that hot air out towards the east over the coming days. But across the southeast we do have these thunderstorms that are going to move their way across East Anglia through the afternoon, so we want to keep a very close eye on them. They should move through rather quickly, leaving clear skies across the southeast. But we do have this band of rain that is moving in overnight. So cooler behind this band, but ahead of it, it is still going to be a muggy night to come. Temperatures here still around 20 degrees overnight, so still could be uncomfortable for a few people. Now, as we go through Sunday, like I said, it is going to turn a lot fresher, a bit more in the way of cloud across Scotland in the morning. Some outbreaks of some showers here, but behind it will turn a little bit brighter across Northern Ireland. But you'll see these temperatures are a lot lower than what we've seen over the last few days with that heat wave. Ahead of that front, it is still going to be a little bit warmer for a few hours before it does start to cool off. But as we go through the day, that rain will start to peter out and we will be left with this band of cloud. As we go into the afternoon, that cloud should lift and it should start to break up for the second half of the weekend, and it will just turn into a normal typical summer's day for Sunday. Temperatures still above average but around the mid-20s, so a much cooler feel than what we've seen over the last few days with those record-breaking temperatures. And through the evening, that is going to continue. It may turn a little bit windier across the very northwest of Scotland with some heavy showers at times. But then as we go through the week, we do see a more settled picture for Monday and Tuesday, and temperatures are still going to be into those low 20s.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
To all of you who voted for GB News to win at the Trick Awards for the 4th year in a row.
The winner is GB News.
Thank you so much for voting for us. It's because of you that we're so proud to be the People's Channel, and it's because of you that we are Britain's news channel.
It's voted for the people who watch us.
Well, we've got the best viewers in the world, haven't we? The most loyal viewers.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Christo in for Nana, and of course we're on GB News, on your TV and on your digital radio. Now, coming up later, we've got the quick fire quiz. Oh, God, where I test the panel on some of the bigger stories of the week. But meanwhile, Europe's heat wave is causing headaches almost everywhere. But it's really turned up the temperature in Brussels, quite literally, because air conditioning has been switched off across much of the European Commission headquarters, whilst the upper floors housing senior commissioners, including the President Ursula von der Leyen's office, have kept theirs, prompting staff to brand the move feudal. Meanwhile, here in the UK, remember, we've all been told to rip out our air conditioning because it's not conducive to net zero. So have we all gone a little bit crazy in the heat? And I don't know, are we going a little bit OTT as well in some of our reactions? Claire Muldoon, I shall ask with you. What do you think of that?
I think we have gone far too off the scale, off the charts, not only in the heat, but also in our attitudes towards it. Schools closing, for heaven's sake. And let's not forget, this is more or less a geographical issue of the south of England. Scotland's not really been affected, nor has Northern Ireland. So come on, do we have to keep addressing everything that goes on in this country to be London-centric in the southeast? And whilst I'm on that, yes, we've got bus drivers driving around in horrific heat and horrific...
Which is awful, by the way.
Which is absolutely awful. Why doesn't the mayor then buy air-conned buses like we have in other parts of Europe?
I cannot believe...
They're so short-sighted, Christo.
I can't believe that these buses cost about £200,000 and they don't have air conditioning in the cabs. Like, that is insane to me. I mean, have we gone a little bit crazy in the heat? Do you know what I get? It's this constant alarmism. It's not, you know what, drink a bit of water and just make sure that you look after yourself. It's
check in on a
we're
neighbour.
going to die.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to die.
Yeah.
We've got, like, red all over weather maps. We're all going to die. When, I'm Greek in descent. They used to just work in the mornings, have a little nap in the afternoon. They adapted. Why are we so alarmist here?
Some people are going to die, so it is actually a serious issue.
People die every day
in the heat. But like the Greeks, I think we do need to start adapting, because this is now our new reality. It is, as the climate heats up, we are going to have to cope with this. And that does mean air-conditioned public transport. It does mean maybe siestas, different working patterns. It does mean that we have to have schools that can cope. And we're going to have to start infrastructure, building into the infrastructure, the idea we're going to have these very great spikes of intense heat, as we've seen over the last 2 days.
We should have been dealing with this before. We had great spikes of heat. 1976 was the last recorded before this season of 36.
1976 is not even in the top 5 hottest days that we've had since then. I mean, I'm old enough to remember it. I know you're not. Well,
I was 4.
No,
what I'm saying is 37.6 was it Gosport or something like that?
We've had a series of even hotter times since then. So it's not
only
even in the
recently,
top 5.
though.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
But
so
what I'm saying is, all the eco-zealots and all everybody, tree huggers out there, they all want. If we knew this was happening, why didn't we start the infrastructure before now? Why is it we're always chasing our tails in this country? Why is it, we should have done, we need to do this? Kids should not be losing classroom time because of hot weather.
And surely now is the time we should be saying to people, let's put in air conditioning.
Yes.
Not let's take out air conditioning. That seems so moronic.
It is moronic.
Like, it's really, really hot, so now's the time we want it to be even hotter for you.
And the danger with sending kids home from non-air-conditioned schools is, of course, where they live may be even hotter and more.
I've said that.
So actually,
I've said that live on TV this week.
We do need to make our schools heat-proof, and hospitals and other workplaces where people have to go, and then where people don't have to go, they can
Let's
work
face
from
it,
home.
we're all here at work today because of the aircon.
Yeah, I mean, the idea, like, again, I come from a family of self-employed people. I am self-employed.
Me too.
Me too. Me three.
Yeah, the idea, like, I mean, I literally have to be at death's door. You could wheel me in a coma to work.
Do you know what? I couldn't get in to do my GB News slot earlier in the week because the trains weren't working.
You're relieved about that.
So I lose the money, and I couldn't get in, and someone else had to be dragged in at the last minute. And, so it's affecting real lives out there that we can't get the trains to run.
Yeah, but again, we lay new track all the time. And I saw this post from, I think it was Network Rail or whoever runs the railway. I think it is Network Rail.
It is Network Rail.
They were saying, well, look, we've done this explainer as to why we have to sort of why tracks sometimes can't endure the heat, and it's because they've got a maximum temperature and a minimum temperature, and they get brittle and all this stuff. But why don't we then just put tracks down that can take maximum heat?
And we know those tracks
exist.
They exist in Italy. They exist in France. They exist all over the world.
China. All of these places.
All of the places.
We are
Japan.
going to have to start coping, aren't we? That's what I say. We're going to have to start rebuilding our infrastructure to cope with these extreme heat, because that is the reality of global warming.
And this is cross-party, incidentally. This should be dealt with at a national level, cross-party. It should not be politicised. It should not be because we can't do this because of heat pumps. It certainly shouldn't be we can't do X, Y or Z because of Ed Miliband.
Oh, God, I mean, that's like my trigger word, Ed Miliband. But I tell you what, as well, the media has to take its fair share of blame.
Instead of alarming people.
I don't mean us, because I think we're actually, trying to put some common sense into it. But the number of times you'll see front pages where Britain is burning.
But we've always had that. Few, what a scorcher. Do you remember that was always the headline?
Few, what a scorcher is lovely, but
500 in the fountains.
500 people are going to die in this weather. And then, I remember reading, I think it was a Guardian last year, where it said 500 people will die in this heat. And then you opened it, and it wasn't until like page 11 they told you how to actually look after yourself in the heat. And you think, well, if it's that important, then maybe it should be closer than page 11, but you're doing it because it's good to sell newspapers by alarming people that they're going to die, rather than actually being sensible about this. We are obsessed with safetyism in this country.
And we're obsessed with being told what to do as well.
It's Labour's fault.
I would say there's a degree of we do need to be told what to do. For example, people jumping in cold water and then dropping dead. That's stupidity that needs to be stopped, as well as some sensible advice. So, we do need to be told what we do to do sometimes.
Well, let's see what you're saying about this, because I think that they will be as frustrated as oh, I've lost your say now. Let me get it back open.
Oh well, no loss.
You know. No, it isn't a loss to you.
Big sigh of relief from Paul, eh?
Yeah. So we're going to find someone
never look at the comments. That's my golden rule. Never look at the comments.
OK. Oh no, I won't read that one to you. Rail tracks' lengths were extended to aid passengers' comfort, apparently. So expansion due to heat increased. Some engineer designed this, says Joe. Thank you. David says, Paul, it gets hot a few days a year. Grow up, grow a spine, get on. Infrastructure, not in our country, as every government ignored what was required for generations.
Yep.
So it's actually your fault personally,
it's my fault.
Paul.
Yeah, that's right, as ever.
Another one here as well.
You definitely just came in for the aircon.
At least... Bill says at least 1,504 heat-associated deaths occurred in the UK during the summer of 2025, with older adults being the most affected. I don't know if that statistic is true, Bill, but I would also like to know what pre-existing conditions they had. And again, I don't have any problem with people being advised to take mitigating action if they have a pre-existing condition. What I don't like is this blanket, everyone has to change their behaviour, everyone is going to die, and this constant alarmism we're fed about absolutely everything.
Even on the tube, there is so much information. Hold on to the rail. Take water with you. If you feel unwell, don't, wait to the next stop. All of this, and this is all common sense.
Well, I wish it was, though, but people keep pulling the emergency cord in between stations and then the whole thing stops.
Well, I've never been in a train for that, but...
You know, I'm absolutely obsessed with stations and public transport and the signage. Like, so for instance, when you leave Paddington Station near the studio, on every single step, it says, mind the step, don't use your mobile phone, please look up, careful of your luggage, every single
But we're so
step.
busy looking at the steps and the messaging from the steps. Your luggage is halfway down there, you've dropped your phone, and you've already caused chaos.
Why are we stupefying the nation by just treating everyone like complete morons
Litigants in person and public liability, that's why. All about the money.
We'll rule the world and we'll sort it all out. OK, coming up next is the quickfire quiz, where the panel get tested on some of the bigger stories of the week. But in the meantime, well, it's the forecast. Hopefully it doesn't alarm you for the top European destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
The very hot weather in Western Europe pushes eastwards through this weekend. Sunny and warm for many other areas of Europe throughout this weekend. Highs of 28 degrees in Tenerife on Sunday. There's a risk of heavy rain and thunderstorms moving up across parts of Spain as well as France. Over the Alps as well, a risk of thundery downpours, and it will turn very hot across parts of Italy in particular through Sunday. But here's your outlook. It remains very sunny for many areas. Temperatures in the low to high 30s. Have a good day.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
As we know, in a democracy, you're free to choose how you want to celebrate. And this is right on brand for Donald Trump. He loves to be a big spectacle with any celebration he does. He wants it to be big. He wants it to grab headlines. And clearly right now he wants to show strength. So it's a tactical decision as well. As we know, there's a very unpopular war going on with Iran. And he's hoping to announce a deal tonight, which would be the greatest birthday gift he could get, because we do need a deal. But it's only Donald Trump who would choose to do this. A lot of the people who follow UFC voted for him, and he's being tactical ahead of midterm elections, trying to show strength.
GB News, the People's Channel. Nana Akua, weekends from 3 p.m.
5 years ago, from today, I got to meet my absolute hero, Nigel Farage, and rub shoulders with Dan Wootton and Andrew Neil, the latter being particularly grumpy. He was less than impressed as well when the sound failed during his first broadcast. The lighting was dreadful. I looked mouldy, and at one point I was practically invisible during a breakfast show because of a black backdrop behind me. I was little more than eyes and teeth. We faced obstacle after obstacle, including Stop Funding Hate, an activist group that set about trying to destroy us before we'd even broadcast a single second. Advertisers were frightened off and hostility towards the channel was actively encouraged, which was deeply ironic. But still, we persisted. If anything, it made us more creative and more resilient.
GB News, the People's Channel. Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Ian McKellen is helping relaunch the Yard Theatre up in Hackney, which reopens this summer, with a new purpose-built 200 capacity auditorium. Tiny, but he'll be doing a brand new version of King Lear. Up in Scotland, Alan Cumming has taken over the Pitlochry Festival. And I just want people to know that all these small theatres, number one, it's not such a big risk. Ticket prices are £30, £35, £40, top price. And you can find less than that. So you can take a risk, but you'll go along and you'll experience something. You'll be part of something. And I am a huge fan of what we get in the West End. It's world class, but it is a lot of money. And it's sometimes just a little bit predictable or complacent or safe, I would say. Not always, but sometimes.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back, it's GB News. Coming up, it's the Saturday 5, but before then, well, it's time for the quickfire quiz where Paul Richards, Claire Muldoon will be tested on some of the stories hitting the headlines right now. Can we test your buzzer, please? Can we have yours, please, Paul? Thank you. Can we have yours, please, Claire? Thank you. All right, multiple choice. England set a new record for the hottest June day yesterday. What was the temperature? Was it A, 36.8 degrees Celsius, B, I've started so I'll finish, 37.3 degrees Celsius, C, 38.1 degrees Celsius? I think Claire's been buzzing. What is the answer, Claire?
The answer is 37, B.
37.3 degrees Celsius. Let's have a look. It is. The answer is, it's B, 37.3 degrees Celsius. Well done, Claire.
I only know Fahrenheit. I don't know what any of those mean.
Okay. Oh, it's quick fire. It's quick fire. Stop talking. Open question. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has so far resisted calls to sack which junior minister? Oh, that was a draw. Do it again. Oh, you went first.
Oh, come on, referee.
Is it Mike Tapp? Yes, it is. OK, 3. Closest answer wins. Former SNP Chief Executive Peter Murrell was... What's your answer?
5 years.
What's your answer?
5 years as well, apparently.
What's your answer? It's going to be the closest answer.
OK, 4 years.
4 years. It was indeed 5 years and 3 months. Question 4, true or false? EasyJet has been ranked among the worst airlines for UK flight punctuality, with one route having an average delay.
True.
It is false. Question 5, multiple choice. What's the percentage chance of Scotland advancing to the knockouts? 5%, 2% or 0.7%?
I got there first.
Oh, what?
0.07%.
It is 0.7, yeah. 0.0, so you're right. Thank you so much. You won, Claire.
Not surprisingly.
God, that's really unenjoyable, I have to say. I
think winning's terrific, and getting them all right is wonderful. So we should all strive to do.
All right, stop. Thank you to my panel. Enough from both of you, honestly. I wish you both had an off switch. Paul Richards and Claire Muldoon. Stop your buzzing. And thank you for your company. Now, Nana is back tomorrow at 3 p.m. But coming up next, yes, it is the Saturday 5.
Indeed, Christo, the Saturday 5 coming up, and we want to know why the Culture Secretary is pushing the notion that in order to combat fake news, we need more of the BBC on social media platforms. We've got a thing or two to say about that. See you after this.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. After the record-breaking heatwave last week, things are going to start to cool down as we head towards the second half of the weekend. It is still going to be pretty hot out there through the afternoon, but we do have these weather systems coming in from the west which will push that hot air out towards the east over the coming days. But across the southeast we do have these thunderstorms that are going to move their way across East Anglia through the afternoon, so we want to keep a very close